Hey everyone, welcome back to the IWP Network, or if it's your first time, welcome hanging out with us. Thank you so much for choosing this podcast, and feedback is always welcome. So make sure to check the links below for all social media links, audio and video versions of this show, and merch. We look forward to hearing from you and hearing that feedback, and enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are, 99.
Yes.
99 Red Balloons, coming up on 100 episodes. We're going to do a overall rundown of everything of Camp Leapfrog.
A retrospective, if you will.
Yeah, why are you so low? Try that again.
I don't know. A retrospective, if you will.
First off, we want to thank our Patreon people. So we'll get the housekeeping out of the way here. We want to thank you guys for the Patreon. It's $5 for bonus content and a shout out, and $1 for just a shout out. Everything goes to help the podcast grow. So Tommy B, thank you so much. The Tree of Life Metaphysical Shop, Brad Zalonis, the Higher Than Other Words podcast, Jay and Austin Blackwell.
Mysterious Jay.
The mysterious Jay. I know who Jay is now. I learned.
Well, it's still mysterious for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep the mystery for you because it's exciting.
Jay.
And then we want to
Jay
thank
Mysterio Jr.
That's exactly. You know what? Now you ruined everything. And then we want to thank our sponsor, Abaddon Tattoo Studio, a unique professional experience nestled in the small town of Pine Grove, Pennsylvania. They provide high-quality tattoos and piercings in a relaxed, professional, and sterile environment. Yeah, so you can check out. What I would say is recommend check out the links below, and their Instagram is cool because they have all their tattoo artists like hyperlinked, and you can go and see everyone's art style. Everyone's fantastic there. I think I'm getting my next one done soon.
Oh boy,
How are you supposed to get hers done soon? Recently.
you already got one there, right?
Yeah, I have 2 from there.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I don't know.
I'm still low on them.
I lose track of stuff.
I can't hear myself.
Can't hear yourself?
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Alex Kilowatt joining us tonight. What's going on, brother?
What's happening, guys? How you doing?
All right. And you want to introduce our guest tonight?
If you're gonna make me, I guess I will. You guys know that I am a camp counselor over at the Camp Leapfrog, and this is Dr. Ethan Wild, former Performance Capital and current camp athletic commissioner.
Very good. Greetings to you all this evening. It is your pleasure to be in my presence, in as much as I try to take my weekends accordingly, and I log off typically at 5 p.m. So the idea of being in front of a computer at this time of night is abhorrent, but I'll do it for all of you.
Well, we really appreciate it. I got to hang out with you a little bit at camp. It was a wonderful experience. I'm excited.
You, at least.
Well, yeah. It was great for me.
It's like, ooh, like,
Yeah.
remind me of Philly and the commission, boo.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your take on the progression of Leapfrog, of where it started and where we are at now. And that's pretty much what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to cover all things Leapfrog, from the beginning all the way through.
Oh wow.
Some of the people who have really jumped off the table for us, really excite us as talent, and then leading into Frog Sport, which I got my new T-shirt.
Look at that.
Brand new T-shirt came
Table
in.
now.
There's some technical difficulties with the first batch, but
Yeah,
just
some
a little minor
unforeseen,
glitch.
Technical difficulties, indeed.
It's
Yeah.
come out of Kevin Skippington's paycheck, I assure you.
Yes.
It said
Somebody's
Frog
paying for it.
Yeah. Listen, I feel your pain with the podcast. We did a whole bunch of merchandise, and we sent them what we thought the graphic looked good on one website, but then when we sent to another website to get them made, they took the graphic and just did their own thing with it. And that's kind of what was happening here, where you're like, oh, well, it looks good on this T-shirts company,
Yeah,
and then
then
we
when
sent
it
it over
gets-
to this one, and they're like, no, this
not pixelated or whatever.
your image isn't what
Yeah,
we
it's
want.
not sharp.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened there. But IW Independent Wrestling Television has done a great job righting the wrongs, fixing it. I got a refund and was able to order the new one right away. It came in and it's very comfortable.
There you go.
Had a quick beer burp. I have beer, pizza,
Just
and
do it right
soda
to the
going.
microphone, Robin.
Yeah, the Howard Stern aspect here. Well, Well, let's get into the first show here. Camp Leapfrog won.
Yes, and not only the first show, the first match. We brought this up in our last episode because we had one of these two wrestlers on our show.
Well,
Yes.
I was gonna say, when did it actually start? Alex could figure
It is coming up on a year.
Technically, the conception of what it was supposed to be, we would be at the 1 year anniversary of that. Certain events took place. Don't really want to talk about those events, but yeah, we officially filmed August 16th of 2020 and debuted on IWTV September 2nd.
Cool.
Yeah. But the first match.
The first match, Deshaun Pratt defeated Devantes, and that was the first match in Camp Leapfrog proper. Also on that show, you had Cajun Crawdad defeating Hermit Crab in a bull rope match. You had Ron Voyage and Trajan Horn, not quite yet the big bad booty daddies.
Mono-Wanalea.
Team
Yes.
Mono-Wanalea. And they danced atop Camp Leapfrog. Then you had a 6-person tag match where we saw the first appearances of Matt Mikowski, Molly McCoy, Travis Huckabee, and a few others there. You had the Are You Afraid of the Dark Falls Cut Anywhere match with Violence defeating
goodness.
Killian Murphy. 5-round food fight, a British rounds match, where then called Still Life with Apricots and Pears. Now, of course, Edith Surreal beat Cheeseburger, now with the world famous CB.
It was food thief.
You had the infamous swimming pool battle royal,
Ooh.
won by Rhonda the Lunch Lady, not so Rousey.
Yes.
And
you
then
remember that, Ethan, right?
And then, well, I guess we're going to make it even worse here because in the main event of the first Camp Leapfrog, Brad Rush did defeat Ethan Wilde in a grudge match.
Oh,
Yes.
Well,
Moving on.
Yes, let's do that.
hey, he main evented the first week.
There you
Yeah.
go.
But did that have a name or is it just Camp
It was
Leapfrog?
just Camp
Camp
Leapfrog.
Leapfrog.
Mhm.
Well, I will say this for show one. Started off for me exciting because going in, I knew Deshaun Pratt,
Okay.
and I heard great things of Devantes. So to start the show for me, it was
All new.
superb. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. A lot. So there was a handful of people I knew from outside of Camp Leapfrog, so it was a good transition point for me.
Yeah, Trajan, we knew, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Moran, Killian.
Was
So all those
Johnny
people.
on the first? Was on the first?
He was. He was.
Counselor, one of the head
Oh,
counselors.
okay, the Battle Royal. I
Yeah.
forgot.
So it was cool to see. It was for me. I think the very first show. I will say. I think you were a highlight for me. Because I think the first show set that bar of what the main event has to be, and I think every Leapfrog. I think you're going to have a trend here as we go. Is every main event the last match of the show has been fantastic.
Yes.
And they just keep they set such a bar, and then each show sets a new bar, and it's just like, man, I would hate to be building that last spot.
I was gonna say the first show kind of sets the tone of what Leapfrog is.
Yeah.
It's like,
it showed
what are we getting? You know?
it showed comedy, but it also showed it can be taken seriously, and it also showed there's a lot of great talent there, and that they're going to put on great matches and have great performances.
Going in, you don't know like what kind of wrestling is it?
Yeah.
It's gonna be CZW. Like you don't know until you see it.
I know behind the scenes a little bit, Killian was just on Johnny Moran's podcast, and he talked a lot about that match, and it was and just the leading up to that, the power bomb on the hay bales. Oh no, that was Halloween.
That was
that was the
Yeah.
second show. Things
Yeah.
would go bump in the
Yeah, I'm sorry, we're getting to that one next. I apologize. Yeah, but yeah, that was overall first show. I really liked it. I think it set a really good tone. And just the carry on story, like the whole behind the scene of the moonshining and everything that was going on there, and like it was just a good starting point. And that's pretty much for the most part. I mean, we talked about before where it was like that was it. It was a one and done show, and see how it went. And hey, we did it. Call it a day. But the fans wanted more.
I feel like show one sets the tone for the spirit of Camp Leapfrog.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
At
that's
the very like most, that's I feel what we got over in that show more so than the wrestling and the technicality of that. This is the kind of story we present, which it kind of changed a little bit when we introduced Leapfrog Live in November. But I mean, even within that, like we're telling a singular story with only a few elements that carry over to the next show. But the spirit of Leapfrog, the people, and what that is, especially during a pandemic, and what we were able to do, that's kind of what I'm most proud about that first show.
Yeah, totally.
And it's
Yeah.
on
You have-
IWTV, right?
Yes.
When you have
I'm
an
sorry,
array
did not
of
mean to cut off Ethan. Go ahead.
people- Yes, you certainly did not. When you have an array of people who all have extraordinarily creative ideas, and independent of whether or not I like them or not, and most likely do not, to get that creative input from all of those people unfiltered, and to give agency to each of those creative performers in an environment that is welcoming to those ideas, that challenge paradigms, that are non-hierarchical. It's an exquisite creation, sometimes a little bit messy, but I think that what I'm hearing from you, Alex, and from the rest of you as well, is the reality that the tone is set that this is something different. And if what you're seeing in this moment is something that you like, what you see in the next segment may also be something that you like, but it's almost certainly not going to be the same as what you just saw. So it's a trite adage to say a little bit of something for everybody, but there is a great deal of variation, and it's always a delight. Again, I don't like all of these people, but it's always a delight to know that everybody has potential to provide as much creative input as they would like to.
Yeah.
What was your overall takeaway for the first show? Obviously, main eventing it and going about that process, just like what the cameras didn't capture, like the overall environment of Leapfrog and that kind of behind the scenes a little bit.
A migraine. A migraine. Have you ever had a migraine that you've enjoyed?
Never.
So in this context, a moment ago, I just praised that it was non-hierarchical, and now I'm about to condemn the fact that it was in fact non-hierarchical. Assembling a program together where everybody is wearing multiple hats. So you're on one side of the building doing something, and you're arranging plans or making sure that there's a door that you can try to put Brad Rush through, and nobody seems to know where the hell it's gone. But yet you're needed somewhere else to help at the same time. It's extraordinarily chaotic. It's a mixture of, hey, where are you, along with hurry up and wait. Along the lines, there have been growing pains and a lot of lessons learned. And I think that, as I said in the first case, there's all this chaos and the non-hierarchical structure of it, that everybody has agency and everybody has autonomy to make of their moments what they wish to. It's a fabulous disaster, to borrow a phrase. And then you learn from the disasters and you retain what's fabulous and you move on to the next with those lessons learned, thinking strategically about how to improve it. So again, it is migraine inducing, but as much as a migraine can leave you with a feeling of euphoria for what you've just put together.
Awesome. Yeah.
With all due respect to Brad Rush, I can understand the migraine-inducing part.
Yeah. Talk to any promoter or booker.
Yeah. I like a lot of what you're saying, actually, because
You should.
I mean, you've worked plenty of promotions, and when you're in a group like our Facebook group, are there other promotions that give the population of its roster as much input in what's happening? As far as what charity are we donating to, or what story would you like to see happen next, or anything really?
That's somewhat of a challenge. The pandemic,
lose him?
and some
I think we may have lost
it.
it.
No,
No,
the
sure.
Boston-
The connection is all right. That's
There, we're all back. Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a storm. Well, I think what storm right now is messing with us. It's a little bit of a delay, and I think it could cut us out.
Or it's that Brad Rush. He's getting into the.
Yeah, Brad Rush is messing with
Get
us.
back for that door.
the internet quality in whatever hayseed part of the state you're located in currently. So comparing it to other organizations, I don't think it's fair to Camp Leapfrog. I don't think it's fair to other promotions. Certainly not for the least of reasons being that nobody really operates the way that Camp Leapfrog does. And that's not something I'm saying to exalt Camp Leapfrog or condemn other promotions. It's just simply the nature of the organization. It's easy to look at a lot of promotions as a single person's vision, and then they select the cast of players to come and get involved and be a part of that. Camp Leapfrog is, at the risk of sounding like I'm an anarchist. It's more of a collective, and I'm not, and it remains to be as such. Oftentimes people reach to what's available. They fall victim to, say, the availability heuristic, and so they think of a nonprofit to give to. They'll think of something their friend is involved in, or something that they might know from their church or their Rotary Club or whatever dreadful civic associations people belong to. They'll book their friend in the main event, and they'll bring in outside talent, not having any iota of inkling of idea of how quality they are or not. And all right, brother, you're in the scramble with 5 other untrained dudes in garbage bag pants. Camp Leapfrog has somewhat of a vetting process, and that vetting is done by the collective, and that has its advantages. So, I think it's qualitatively very different, but I don't know that I would say that to say, when I say it's better, I certainly think it's better, or else I wouldn't be a part of it. But I wouldn't say it's inherently better. It may not serve everybody else's needs or wants.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, I do that too.
Absolutely.
So we go to our next show, which is the live show.
The next show, I believe, was Things That Go Bump in the Ring.
Yes.
Yes, that was a taped show. That was a very story-driven show, all centered around Killian McMurphy, that no good goon, Killian McMurphy.
The Goon. This is like the birth of the Goon.
This is Killian opening a portal to hell. Is what this is. And so before this, we do have a pumpkin patch death match where Blank defeats Abs. You have a tag scream match where Salt the Earth, Matt Mikowski, and Travis Huckabee defeat Ron Voyage and Trajan Horn. I think at this point they are the big bad booty daddies.
Yeah.
This is the first time we hear that. Yeah.
The big surprise is we have an IWTV championship match and a World of Violence match where Warhorse, the then IWTV champion, defeated Violence. We have a Monster Battle Royal, and this is where our guest here, Dr. Wild, came in with Johnny Moran. They had been ousted from Camp Leapfrog after the conclusion of the first one, and now they have sneaked back in the camp, I should say. But there's monsters everywhere, including Amasis. The resurrected Amasis is in the match.
Where was he at?
And so
Avoiding paying royalties.
but the savior
so
here,
true.
the person saving the day here is the good witch, Kaya McKenna, who closes the portal to hell, saves the day, and then unfortunately, Brad Rush is unable to get his give Killian McMurphy his comeuppance because Killian and the Goons. This is actually the birth of the Goon Squad, because they all attack Brad Rush. 911 comes in for the big save, but it's not enough, and Killian McMurphy gets the win.
Yeah. Yeah, that another great show. That hay bale
The
spot.
first one I seen, yeah.
Jesus.
I sat on a hay bale and I hated it. And then I don't know if I'm slightly allergic. My whole back was itchy that
Yeah.
night. And just from sitting on a hay bale. So I wouldn't want to get powerbombed one.
So we have some returning people to the camp this time around, and it's really now it's a launching point. We're like, hey, how are we going to continue this on? From the first show to the second show, for us here, who was some names that really stood out to you that like, man, I like this is something we have to bring back. This is a name that we have to keep around. They really surprised us of what they were able to accomplish and what they were able to do. Who are some of those names from the first 2 shows now?
I don't necessarily think that was a process of thought rather than everyone that was involved or that was supposed to be involved in the first one and couldn't make it was still openly invited to the show to be a part of it. It wasn't really a thought of like, oh, who else can we bring in other than obviously the opportunity to have a IWTV title defense. It wasn't necessarily a thought of who do we have to have, like who got over or anything like that.
Okay. For me as a viewer, I became a fan of these two of Violence after the first 2 shows.
Yeah.
I was really, really into Violence. I liked what he brought to the table. I thought he was very entertaining. And so for me, that was my big takeaway from both Camp Leapfrogs was his 2 matches where I was like, oh, I like what's happening here.
I got to wrestle Warhorse for the IWTV title.
Yeah.
At the time, who was then champion.
It was then champion. Really good.
And the skeleton had a name, but I forget the skeleton.
I think it was just Bones, right?
Boner.
You were 1 letter off.
Yeah,
Yes,
Boner.
Boner.
Yes.
Innuendo is lovely.
This was also the birth of the Camp Leapfrog Open Swim, created by Sam Laterna.
Yeah.
So we saw Ryan Nova lose a match to, I believe, Still Life at the time, and I want to say Max
pulling it-
Zero.
I'm pulling it up.
Leroy Green was in that match.
That's
as
right,
well.
Leroy Green as well. And then Ryan Nova was made to wear a chicken suit for the rest of the show.
Kind of like the Bobby Heenan Weasel suit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Out of the TNA when they used to have that
The
Feast or
turkey
fired thing. Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
they would have it because they would run on Thursday when they
Yeah,
were
so
on
it's always
on
on
TV.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
They would have the Thanksgiving episode. Somebody would lose a match and have to wear the turkey suit.
Mhm.
Well, I guess it's better than getting fired.
Yeah.
You win a match now. You're fine.
Oh, God, it's wonderful. I could have had a title shot or be fired.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, I just don't want to be in that match. Anyway,
Anything with the Halloween show that stands out to you guys?
It was very ambitious, I believe. With technically trying to create some sort of special effects for the show. It was a challenge, one that it didn't go over great, but the
I
fans,
thought there was something wrong with my computer.
right, because it almost looked like you had like a magnetic
A
effect.
magnet.
on-
Yeah.
Yeah. Creating daylight into dark was not a task that went over very well for us.
you live and you
But-
learn.
Yeah, but
you know-
how Doctor was saying here earlier, it's one of those things where you learn for another upcoming show. So
Indeed.
that show then turned to be like, oh, we can do matches at night now because we know how to put lights up, and well, not just know how to put lights up, but put them in the right
Right.
positions and really light the ring properly so you can do nighttime filming.
Recalling the first Leapfrog, two revelations that we took away with the first is we need to organize the day better, and the second is because we expect the former to fail, we need to account for recording at night. So we need to get lights for the ring, and we succeeded at the latter, and I think we overcorrected for the former. So in the first case, the arrangement of the first Camp Leapfrog was very laissez-faire in terms of how we put things together. And the second, we attempted to collectively put together a run sheet. So people had kind of an idea of the structure of the day, so to speak. And it was very aggressive and presumptuous that you could take 4 to 5 dozen people, trust them to read, not that my advice was listened to in this case, but you can trust those people to read a schedule and then adhere to that schedule and pay attention to it. Lord knows that they're in front of their phones all day long, and so that they know exactly when it's 2:47 and they have to be poolside, but instead they're busy on Twitter, or if they're Leroy Green, they're playing their Switch, or you get the idea. So we put together a fairly aggressive itinerary for things that go bump in the ring, and I don't know that necessarily succeeded either.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just good to have some structure. I've been to many shows that don't. It's like, okay, well, who's the first match?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we got to start.
Mhm.
Somebody get out there. So yeah, you got to have some structure.
Yeah. What's our next show here?
So from now we get to Leapfrog
That's it.
Live. The very first Leapfrog Live was Sam Laterna's Slumber Party, November 28th. And you had a tag team opener. Well, dark match. You had Bristol Lion, Marcus Schuyler beating Lucas DeSangro. And then during the card itself, you had a tag match. The Big Bad Booty Daddies beat Francis Wright in the spoiler. Erica Lee defeated the Hermit Crab. Oh, one thing we should have mentioned for things to go bump in the ring. Keegan Crawdad died.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
In
happened.
real life.
He's murdered.
Yeah.
Never come back. Never seen that.
And then you also have,
if you guys know the secret there, keep it kayfabe.
of course.
Yeah.
Real tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's almost like El Generico. You know?
Yeah. Was there a proper
Shame.
funeral? Or did you guys just bury him on campsite?
There may be some bones in the woods.
May have
Okay.
been a fish fry
I'm
later
still
that
burying him.
Yeah.
Erica Lee defeated the Hermit Crab and Leapfrog Live. Pancakes and the Crusher defeated Tyrant, Grey Wolf, Raventhorn, and Warwolf Creed. Easy for me to say. And then in your Monsters Ball match, Big Calyx defeated CC Boost.
Yeah.
Mm.
The start of him becoming sad.
Yep.
Yeah, indeed.
Now, doing a live show. What was the how was that process? I was part of one attempt at a live show, and it was rough.
Well, that's when you have to be on the ball for because it's live.
Yeah.
We're live, pal. Like JR said.
I will say that it went a lot smoother than I anticipated it to. Not much to be said for our following lives. Most recently, our live didn't go as planned.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. But this one, we went straight from a cell phone, and I think everything went pretty well. There were some things that happened during the show that I don't think some of us that should have been aware of were aware of, like fireworks or jumping off of a car. I feel like we should have been aware of maybe these things potentially happening for safety reasons, but they happened, and we all popped for it.
There's one thing that we simply cannot change, and that's that time ever moves forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Resulting from that, we will all one day die.
That's true.
That is also true. But in terms of a live broadcast, the only measure of success is, does it show up, right?
Right.
And in this case, if it doesn't show up, then the expectations of the people who've logged on to watch the program are dashed, and they're upset instantly, just that quickly. That, not to negate, Alex, what it is that you're saying about a live stream, that it's very important. In a live broadcast, you have one opportunity to capture that moment, that
Right.
firework, that being thrown into a car, that being dropped on a ladder. And you succeed at some of them and you don't succeed at all of them. The goal, of course, is to succeed at all of them. But in general, a live broadcast, you have one opportunity to get it online, and you did. So by that metric, I consider it a success.
Yeah.
Yep, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. The adaptation, like how that the camp staff and everything that goes on there, when something does go awry, it just from future, we'll get to a show in the future here that we're going to talk about, the way that everyone just really jumps on and just makes it happen and makes it work and really jumps in and makes it the product go is very, very cool to see.
Yeah, a lot of great problem solvers without anybody overstepping, like any like overreaching anybody or enforcing ego or my idea is better than your idea. It's a very constructive, okay, here's the problem, how do we fix it? What's your idea?
Yes.
What's your idea? Okay, this is the best idea collectively, let's go with this.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the collaborative nature of who we have on staff.
Yeah, a lot of we'll get to them in a moment, but there's a lot of unsung heroes behind the scenes of Camp Leapfrog. All right, let's get to our next show.
Our next show, and this one for me, this one really stood out because I was a fan of King of Trios go back in the day, and this was Christmas Trios.
Yeah, you popped hard for this.
Get it?
Yeah.
Christmas trios.
Uh-huh.
So this one, I think this is where wrestling really took front and center stage for Camp Leapfrog. You still had the fun, you still had like the song at the beginning, and everybody singing their individualized Christmas carols, but wrestling was front and center here because you do have a trios tournament. And just to run through some of the teams here, you have your eventual winners, the Pop Art Flyers, Boomer Hatfield, Molly McCoy, and at that point, still life with Apricots and Pears. They defeated in the first round Honeysuckle Cabin, Leroy Green, Bones, and Ryan Nova. You also had Killian and his Goons, who made it to the middle round. You had D-Generation Hex, Erica Lee, Kaya McKenna, and the Crusher. These names are wonderful.
Yeah,
These names are incredible.
I forgot about that one.
The team that really, really I kind of fell in love with in this thing was Salt the Snow, Devontes, Matt Mikowski, and Travis Huckabee. They went up against Technical Team 2000. There's another great name.
It is.
In the first round, Hot Dog Starks, Joey Banyas, and Marcus Schuyler. You had Abs, Abby Jane, and a very good professional wrestler, I believe just Team Camp Leapfrog there, beating Team Dropdown, Chris Horrorshow, Johnny Moran, and Saber Dorado. The Pop Art, and then those were your teams. And then eventually, at the very end, the Pop Art Flyers defeat Salt the Snow in the finals.
Yeah.
Boomer Hatfield, by the way, almost unstoppable in trios matches because in a slightly different arrangement in the WrestleMania weekend, going way into the future here, it was Boomer, Boar, and Erica Lee winning a trios match for Camp Leapfrog down there.
He's
right.
he's the king of the trios.
He is the Christmas trio.
I was gonna say, don't say king. Don't say that. Don't say that
Yes.
anymore.
Copyright.
That don't exist anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You got the shinning.
Yeah, my bad.
You know where I trade? Nowhere.
Yeah, your training camp didn't exist now. You just went to some
Just learned.
place.
You went to India and trained with chakra.
Chakra. I went to deepest, darkest Africa, like Akeem.
Yeah.
And then in the non-trios match on that show, it was Blank defeating Darius Carter, a name that would be very big in the future.
Yeah. Absolutely. Anything that stands out for the Christmas show here?
I expected more from Camp Dropdown. I don't know what happened there.
All of the money was spent in the LLC filings, and these buffoons, Jonathan being an exception, couldn't even say the word. Say it with me. Aneantissimo is the name of the camp. Camp Aneantissimo. Instead, these two-syllable plebes said, "We're going to call it Drop Down," and so that's what it became, and it threw everybody's game off. If we're going to have to play at phonics with a bunch of idiots, then it's just going to throw you off your game. I was vacationing. What responsibility can I claim? I laid the financial ground, and a very good professional wrestler is somebody who is, let's say I have my eye on him, if only because I look back to Christmas trios, ruined my holiday season. My day of birth occurs during the holiday season. It's a time that I normally celebrate. I spend it with the people I love the most, namely myself. And I was miserable the entire time. Miserable every day. The powdered snow in the Alps, outstanding. The skiing weather, outstanding. The mulled wine, outstanding. And yet I was miserable because I couldn't help but think that this team could not get it done. That's what
Is it? I know I'm kind of close. I'm a December baby as well. Was it kind of like
the Alps? No.
Was it kind of like is it kind of like getting double gifted for Christmas and your birthday? Is it like that feeling or worse?
That's a empirical question I've grappled my entire life with, right? Like we only have one birthday, so I don't have a basis of comparison. It's a constant, not a variable. I can't say, is it any different? All I know is that my birthday is wonderful because it's my birthday, and any gifts that I receive better include the receipt because they're most likely being taken back or the bare minimum scoured to see if somebody's using a 20% off Bed Bath and Beyond coupon, and if so, they're simply cast out of my life for eternity.
Yes.
You gotta have standards.
Yeah, you got
reasonable things, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's get to our next one here.
So now we're back to Leapfrog Live, and this is 1/17/1985. We're stepping in the time machine, where the Midnight Wonder Boys.
This was at the
True
Mill.
Yes.
Like,
So was Christmas Trios.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was not aware of that.
It's just a little cold to do outside shows.
Yes.
Unless
I
you're,
like the
unless
True
you're Edith Surreal and Masha Slamovich, then you can fight anywhere.
In Russia, it really happened.
But yeah, that was
Russia.
I mean,
That was
it's always snowy there.
Yeah.
Come on now.
No matter where you went, yeah.
Mhm.
Siberia. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So the Midnight Wonder Boys, Matt Mikowski and Travis Huckabee defeated the main event.
Oh, that hair was great.
The hair was amazing. And then you had the $50 Body Slam Challenge. The Whispered wins $50 by body slamming Rex Lawless. Hermit Crab defeats Bones. Bangers and Mash, Grey Wolf, Raventhorn, and War Wolf Creed. If we do it enough times, we're going to get it right at some point.
I'm waiting for you to get it right.
You're going to be waiting a while, actually. They defeated Leroy Green and Saber Dorado. Coal Miner's Glove match. The Spoiler defeats Abs. Devontes beats Abby Jane. And in your main event, Texas Death Match. Dr. Wild might like this. Darius Carter defeats Brad Rush with Johnny Moran in his corner. Oh, Johnny Moran in Darius Carter's corner.
Yes.
But Brad Rush loses. That's all that matters.
Yes.
We've lost the kill.
I think Kilowatt disappeared on this, but that's okay.
As I look at this lineup, the one thing that stands out to me is there's such a great amount of variation from show to show, and yet it feels consistent. So what Kilowatt was saying earlier, it's a good indicator that the spirit of Camp Leapfrog remains fairly constant from show to show.
Definitely.
For instance, you look at this and you see that the Spoiler makes his first in-ring, to the best of my knowledge, singles match at this event. and not prior to that. You see people, Jonathan shows up again, which is excellent. Devontae shows up. You know, Hermit Crab. And then you see the Whisper and Rex Lawless, who I don't believe had appeared prior. They're names that we're familiar with, or people that we're familiar with, and we get to see this great flux of extraordinarily talented people who are coming in to help really solidify that Camp Leapfrog as a place where you want to be.
Yeah. So far up until this point, I was like, man, like it just looks like a blast. Like everything about this looks fun. Everyone's cool. The talent there is amazing. I'm always pulling somebody new out where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go look more back at their back catalog and see what they've done. Like I said, and the diversity, that just more people come in and it opens up more eyes. And then when you go and research this talent and you go and find them and they've wrestled at other promotions and doing other things, and then now with your IWTV subscription, you're like, oh, I can see a lot of their stuff on this show and this show, and then check them out here and check them out there. It was just, it's at this point in Leapfrog, I'm really, my eyes are open to a whole nother side of professional wrestling with the independent scene that I didn't really get a hold of I was aware of, because my independent scene is just pretty much what's around me in my car. And I think that was a good thing, like a positive to this horrible thing of this pandemic that's been going on, where it opened me up to new style of wrestling, that it wasn't so much Outbreak and it wasn't so much PPW. I was seeing these other promotions and learning about all this stuff, and learning about all these great people who I'm huge fans of now on TV when I'm watching AEW and WWE, all came through these stomping grounds of these promotions, and it's just really, really cool. It was awesome.
It's one of the reasons why I made IWTV City, because before you'd only see the indies in your area, or maybe if you went somewhere where your friend lived and you'd see that indie. But so now IWTV is like, oh, we can take indies from all over the country, and put them on this one thing so people can watch any. So you watch one from California, and it's easy.
I was just telling Brian in the car, I was like, we're doing stuff for Leapfrog, and I got to finally go to one and help out and be part of the production team. And then I'm like standing around, I'm meeting people, talking to people, and then I don't really know much. Like I said, I was a fan of just WWE my whole life. I didn't really know if it's. I'm learning. This is like a new experience to me, and then you guys are kind of filling me in, and I learned through here. But like, I was just like, the tag match with CB and Nova was great, and then like I flip on ROH, and there they are. I'm like, I had no idea, because ROH was not something I watched, and now I'm like,
you don't know, you don't know.
And then the only reason I really start watching ROH is because a local guy in our area, Deppen, is doing really well there. So then I go on to see what he's doing, and I'm like, what? These are campers. Like these are
TV champion now. They do ROH TV champion.
It's just, I don't know. It's just cool to be like. It's fun to watch your friends and people who you've met at these shows doing cool.
Yeah, because they feel like even if you don't really know them, you feel like you know.
Yeah,
I was telling Tony how Cheeseburger CB is one of the favorites of Liger.
Oh yeah,
Liger loves him.
Well, they tagged up a lot in like early match, early match.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah,
like Liger.
That's where he got the show tape.
That's crazy. Yeah, it's awesome to me. Yeah.
I figure you're probably gonna name some of those unsung heroes you were talking about, and I think some of them are probably Phil Stamper, probably the 100%. Crusher, and even the Maestro. The three of them, when it comes to this show, big time. Yeah, the music is phenomenal, and then you have these three, which really come together to put together the atmosphere at the '80s show, and then the following. Camp Leapfrog, you come into this building and it's completely changed into this 80s prom type of thing. One of my favorite touches and why I stepped away is the signs. You gotta love the signs.
Yeah.
So I as a collector myself, I took as many signs as I could from that show.
We're actually joined by the lunch lady here. She's watching with us.
The undefeated lunch lady Ronda.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Shockingly left out of the PWI Female 50 last year.
Well, when they make it a PWI Female 100, there you go.
Absolutely.
If my mother makes it into PWI.
She's 51, just on the outside looking in. I would really miss as I look at this the lineup for this show. Just stepping back to the '80s show, the singles match between Hermit, Crab, and Bones. This discussion reminded me. Go back and watch that match, and there is a textbook. Just put it in the Smithsonian, encase it in glass, and let the plebes go to museums and check this out for decades to come. Hermit Crab hits an absolutely magnificent spinebuster in this match, and I want to leave you all right now, not because I dislike you, though I certainly do, But I want to go back and watch this Spinebuster for the rest of the evening.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get to that later, but a little bit I want to do is I was going to kind of rank your favorite matches there. But yeah, that was a great spot. I believe in that same show is where Killian lays a clothesline on or is it the 80s or the Christmas one?
That on whom?
On Erica Lee.
That is Camp Leapfrog.
Oh, we're getting there. Yeah, I just think of the backdrop, the building. It gets it. But yeah, Phil. So I kind of learned from Phil when I went with you to the last GSW show, and I got to meet Phil there. And just his wrestling mind is unbelievable, and just the way he and just talking to him, and then I got to see him again with Camp Leapfrog, and I'm just like, oh yeah, he definitely is a guy you want in your corner when it comes to the world of professional wrestling. He's just really good at what he does. He was kind of the whole backbone to that whole show. Like he was like the main guy, like story wise, where he was kind of bringing in the rival faction at that GSW.
Yeah, he had a year-long feud where he was like trying to take over
the company
GSW with his group of unsavory people. So
yeah,
it was pretty good. Yeah,
yeah, it was cool. Yeah. Anything else with the 80s show that you guys want to talk about before we move on? No?
Cool idea. Wish I was there for
that. The white powder everywhere. That was interesting.
What?
This is the 80s.
Yeah, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
Reaganomics.
Imagine being the courier of that substance.
Is that something
Very
you
careful
really
drive.
own up to on a recorded podcast?
This is true. I just said imagine though. It's
it was Fun Dip. Remember that Fun Dip?
That's enough plausible deniability to get you out of legal trouble.
Yeah, I did not do the things we just said.
Yes. You always have to enjoy some every now and then, right?
I enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm holding up my Coca-Cola. Yeah. Well, for the people who are not watching, the listening audio.
That's true.
Yes. Let's go to our next show.
So before the Camp Leapfrog show, we did have a Camp Leapfrog block at GCW Fight Forever, the 24-hour pro wrestling stream by Game Changer Wrestling. It was a Torneo Cibernetico, another classic throwback to a independent promotion that shall remain nameless. The Cibernetico match, where the best campers ever. Here's the list. Abs, Abby Jane, Boomer Hatfield, Erica Lee, Jay Lion, Midas Black, Molly McCoy, Still Life, and The Boar defeated a very good professional wrestling team. A very good professional wrestler, Blank, CC Boost, Dan Champion, Killian McMurphy, Masha Slamovich, Matt Demarest, Matt Mikowski, and Travis Huckabee. And then in Cyberneticos, it comes down to the remainder of the people on the team, which was Boomer and Erica Lee. And your overall winner is Erica Lee.
Yeah. Who is now a champion.
Yeah, I forget, what is it, Dream Wrestling or something like that? In New York?
I believe it's Pro Wrestling Magic.
Yes,
Pro Wrestling Magic.
Oh, okay.
That's a really nice title.
Yeah,
it's a really nice looking title belt. I was like, that's gorgeous.
I like the Cibernetico match. To get back to that.
Yeah,
that was
I want to be in one because they just seem fun. I've seen many in that promotion that doesn't exist anymore, and I was like, these are good.
You can definitely check them out on IWTV as well, as they just signed an exclusive distribution agreement with them.
With the company that shall remain nameless?
Yeah.
Oh, Magic. Okay, Pro Wrestling Magic.
Oh, Magic. Oh, yes. That's great. Perfect. Then you can see more of Erica Lee.
That's a cool name. I like that name.
Yeah.
Erica Lee, Darius Carter, among quite a few other campers.
Yeah, that title is probably one of my favorite independent titles. No offense to Camp Leapfrog, but that's a
You know what title is really nice? It's a shame that the Pro Wrestling Synergy title is very nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen it, but that was the one that Eric.
I think that's the promotion that'll remain nameless.
Yeah, that's it. That's another one.
Oh yeah.
They got to really remain nameless. But the belt was very nice. Belt has nothing to do with anything.
I have I don't know. It bums me out in a way. And this is not a knock to you guys because you guys are part of the promotion side of things. But I always see when obviously I'm not a huge fan of things that Vince has done as an owner of a company, right? Because he's done some really terrible and shady things. But so when I support a company, I support the talent, right? So if you were to tell me right now, I can never go back and see some of those promotions matches because
that kind of sucks for the people that were in them.
Exactly, because I feel like it's obviously the owner sucked and did terrible things, but you're erasing people's hard work.
Yeah, especially if it was a match they were very proud of.
Yeah, it kind of bums me out.
Favorite match ever, or that they had. So
I understand why
a match to show people, hey, see me on here. This match is right.
I understand why it has to be done, but it does bum me out for the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears in between the ropes.
I would just think, well, how would I feel if it,
Yeah.
I might be like, oh, that's.
Yeah, that's just my take. I won't, unless you guys want to speak on it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but that's just me. Like, I just feel like you're taking people's hard work away that wrestled in the matches. Like, we all know the owner was terrible, but the work that was done in the ring was done by the people who were there.
Mm-hmm.
For me, anyway. Yeah.
All right. So then we have Camp Leapfrog.
Oh, this was
a wonderful show. Well, we had your open swim first.
It's Valentine's Day themes. You can't guess.
Right. Yes.
Well, this is where I think I wouldn't say the master hit his stride, but this is where that Leapfrog song really just stuck in your head for years. I think it's still stuck in my head.
Years. Show was
he still has Effie's part like in his head.
Yeah. One of the unsung heroes we'll get to again, but yeah, Maestro kills it. The show opens with the Love Shack spoof and people singing and having a good time. And
so behind the scenes, that was a random conversation between Maestro and myself. I was just like, hey, wouldn't this be fun if we could mock this song? And he was like, no, don't.
He hates it. He hates that song.
I hate that song. And I'm like, but you admit it would be fantastic. He's like, yes, but I don't want to have to create it. So as he's saying that, I'm like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I already texted Chris and he loves it.
He loves the idea.
So that he was always better to beg for forgiveness and ask for permission.
As mind washing works through repetition, he came to love it.
Yeah.
In creating the Leapfrog song.
Now he has a B-52s tattoo.
Yes.
So, no.
Yeah. He's gonna follow them when they go back on tour. He's gonna
He has a Kate Pearson wig he wears every now and then. Now.
I still think that
you guys know way too much.
Yeah, I feel that we should still have a Camp Leapfrog shirt with the lyrics of the original like Campers song on the back,
like the Michael Scott Run for the Cure.
Yeah, like with the lyrics, because the lyrics were really, really good on the first show. But yeah, but this Leapfrog, that's definitely how it starts off. Starts off with a bang.
Well, it started off with the open swim where you had a few matches. One came up a few days before the show. Philly Mike Swanson beat Saber Dorado. Immediately before the show, you had Cayman MK beating Francis Wright and the Boar beating Violence.
Yeah,
and then you had the show proper.
No, the cool thing
not a bad pre-show.
That is a very good pre-show.
Yeah.
Now the cool thing with the pre-show too is after the pre-show happened, you got the three-way interview between Effie. This was
the very end of Still Life.
Yes,
about to become
and Sam Laterna, and she does that interview with them too. And,
phenomenal.
And it was a great, like, if you didn't watch that interview and be like, I'm gonna go subscribe, you're crazy, because it was a great way to be like to set up that main event. And the interview that was conducted, I thought it was done very, very well. And that was when I'm like, I'm a fan of. I'm gonna go. Like I'll check everything she does now. I'm a huge fan of Sam.
What's fun for me is that even that night, you yourself and many other people on Twitter chose to go back and watch whatever WWE program was on after they watched Leapfrog.
Yeah, it was NXT
great.
that night.
NXT. It was NXT takeover.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was definitely humbled by that.
And we live tweeted it, which was the first time I really experienced live tweeting, because we had a Twitter account for a while, we just never really used it. And you were kind of like, yo, live tweeting is a lot of fun, you should try it. And I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. So we jumped on and we live tweeted during Leapfrog, and we really got a chance to meet and interact with people who are just very supportive in this community that has been built since the beginning of Camp Leapfrog.
Mm-hmm.
And not just on the Twitter side of things, like the love and the sense of community that people have really come to has built because of Camp Leapfrog was really shown off that night at Leapfrog on Twitter. And it was, I remember just messaging him a bunch of times, Alex. I'm like, this is beautiful. Like the one tweet, I'm not sure exactly where it came from, but someone was like, I had a really shitty month. Like COVID's been really terrible. Like I never leave my house. I don't see anybody. But the fact that this is on tonight, this made my day. And I was like, that's got to be amazing to hear if you're part of that team. Like people are really like, they look forward to each Camp Leapfrog now. Like it's something that people are clamoring. Like when can we do a live Leapfrog where we can go sit in a crowd and watch? And like that's such a cool experience of just making a show that was going to be a one-off, and now you're this deep in.
It's becoming something,
and people are really enjoying it.
Looking forward to
and it's cool to see like, outside sources tweeting about it.
Yeah, people that aren't connected. because I was your friends. I'm like, oh, I like it.
Absolutely.
You know? But if it's somebody you have no idea,
Yeah.
Well, they're being honest because I don't know them. Why would they lie to me?
And that's been my whole interaction with Camp Leapfrog up until this point was just my friends group talking about it, and then seeing it on the side of Twitter where people around the world are talking. It was really magical. Like that show was always going to have a special place for me.
There's a benefit to the aforementioned laissez-faire approach to building an organization that I don't know if I'm really revealing too much about myself, but after the first Camp Leapfrog, I don't know that there was any intention to continue, or if this was just a standalone thing that we wanted to do because of the pandemic, that we were all despondent and alone. In addition to the social conditions of the time, that we were looking for that creative output that no longer existed. But there was no intention that we're going to build this wonderful thing and then we're going to sell all of our creative copyrights. We're going to be next to ICW and WXW on the WWE network, or somewhere through that dreadful Peacock user interface. There was no intention of that. So we're not a promotion that came around where people thought we're still going to be around in a year and we're going to be so much bigger and we're going to sell out the ECW arena. It was, let's do this for fun and let's see where it takes us. And I think that having that healthy dose of skepticism, that is this going to be what people want to see, really pays off, as opposed to making the assumptions that we in fact do know exactly what people want to see and this is going to be it all of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Anything you want to add to that, Alex?
No, I think that fully captures exactly what we're about and exactly how we started. There was no intention of running a second one. In fact, at the wrapping of the first one, it was a thought of, if people like this, we'll come back next summer and do this again. We were back within a month, which was cool. And there is no hey, what are the fans going to like? Like, are they going to like this? It really is the idea of, this would be fun. Let's try this. Hopefully people like it. Yeah. That is honestly the feel. I very much, I think he nailed that. You nailed that.
Definitely.
And you could tell when people are having fun, it comes across.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you watch it like, oh, they're having fun. Now I'm having fun watching this.
Absolutely. That was that was the biggest thing for me.
If it's people there, like when you watch Raw and you're like just going through the motions, you're like, But if they're like into it, like, these guys are into it. Or girls,
you can see when people are around and they're pretending to be an audience and they're not engaged. Yeah. When people are pretending, like when they're legit engaged, what's going on in the ring. And that's literally what was happening every.
The more you watch wrestling, tell when someone's just in there phoning in. Yeah. Someone's in there like trying to. Either having fun or trying to like really steal the show. Yeah.
Now we were very fortunate to have Matt Mikowski on, as well as Devontae on the podcast. And one of the questions we asked, because they're both from the same promotion where they got their start, they were starting to build themselves up, and then unfortunately the promotion went away. Not just for them, but for a lot of talent. And they both kind of said the same thing. That Leapfrog was a spot where they was like, we didn't know if we were going to see our friends again. We didn't know how that because we were on the road with each other. We were experiencing each other. We were training together. And it was like, just in a blink of an eye, it was all taken away from us. And we lost our home. We didn't have a place to call home. We were kind of just thrown to it, be like, now you're on your own in this world of wrestling. And they said Leapfrog has been that place for them where it's like, we get to reunite with each other and still build off each other and grow as a family, and then bring new people into the family and really keep that unity going, even though it's not under the banner of that promotion. It's more or less they made it their own, which is really, really exciting too.
That's what I felt when I first watched Brock's. I'm like, this is a lot like, but it's different.
Yeah, they took the best parts of it and brought it with them.
Yeah, it's very much a spiritual success.
Yes, that's a good term.
And it to me, it's exciting because like I'm a huge fan of from PPW, watching the House of Glory talent, and then seeing them at PPW, and now seeing them mix with the former promotion and them kind of working together is very exciting for me, because I respect both those brands a lot. Yeah. And it was just like seeing guys like the Main Event and Bones and stuff kind of jump in there. It's really fun to see that two styles clash, and they come from two different types of training and background, but they're very, very good at what they do.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, well, let's jump into Leapfrog here.
So Leapfrog, we have the speed dating 5-way scramble where CC Boost defeats Big Dan Champion, Hot Dog Starks, Lucas DeSangro, Max Zero to win a date with the Kilowatt.
Yes. Whoa. Well, he didn't know that first, right?
No, I think most of them seem to be under the impression they were going to win a date with Sam Laterna.
Oh, okay.
But it was with the Kilowatt.
Yeah.
It's an
I
upgrade.
would like to think that CC Boost would put the same amount of effort into the match, irrespective of the individual.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. And
look at the Kilowatt. He's a catch. Look at that guy.
Hey, spoilers. We'll get to the end of the night at the end of the night.
Yeah.
This is just that was the very beginning. There's an ending to this.
Yeah.
So then, in the blind date blindfold match, you had Love Doug defeating Basic Becca, and then in a match to determine who was going to pay for the.
So real quick, that blindfold match. When that, I'm not gonna lie. You're my buddy, but when I first heard you're having a blindfold match, I've never seen one I enjoyed. And
It's only been like 2.
yeah, and they're never usually that great.
I thought it was good for what it was.
And this one was fantastic.
Jake and the mom.
Jake.
Yeah, I mean Jake sold it because he was swinging like a maniac, but they did a great job with a blindfold match. I thought it was done very well.
Yeah, I like the feel of that. I want to see. So then you had the match to determine who was going to foot the bill for the bad date. Kaya McKenna defeated Ryan Nova. Erica Lee with the board defeated Killian McMurphy after a dating game gone wrong. 2-on-1 handicap match. And no contest here. A very good professional wrestler decided to not wrestle against Abs and Abby Jane.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pop Flyers, Boomer Hatfield and Molly McCoy defeat the Runway. And then in your main event, in a grudge match, a Super Libra match, because Effie has been ruined, and the Runway have been ruining the entire night for the host. At this point, still Life with Apricots and Pears. Very soon to be Edith Surreal. She defeats Effie in the main event in a bloodbath.
Wow.
Yeah, that so seeing Still Life, soon to be Edith Surreal at every Leapfrog, I was like, oh, I'm very impressed. And then I was like, oh, she's getting the main event. And I'm like, I don't really know much about this Effie. And I was like, oh, if you don't know Effie, you got to go research. I'm like, I'm going to wait till after the match to go do my stuff, to research and stuff. And just that main event was a masterpiece. It was, once again, every main event at Leapfrog has just the bar been raised and raised and raised. And after Love Frog, I was like, there's no topping that. Like, how do you?
And then Matt McCuskey's like, oh, you just wait and see.
Yeah, well, not even Matt McCuskey. I mean,
there is
the live before that with Max and Blank, right? Blank.
That didn't happen yet.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, the following show.
Even that main event was top notch. You know what I mean? Like, it was just after that one, I was like, they went out to, the whole idea was like art and style and everything, and then they made a masterpiece. It was to this day probably one of my top matches.
The through line narrative the entire show was excellent.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
You set up a villain, that villain gets their comeuppance. But that's any art, not just wrestling. That's any art.
Yeah,
that's what the fans want.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Anything with Love Frog you guys want to add?
Did we lose them?
We frozen?
No.
Oh no, they're just.
I'm
you guys were both very stoic.
There were two things that I look back on this and I find to be enchanting. One is Max Zero being frustrated, because there's nothing in this world that feeds my energy more than seeing Max Zero frustrated and angry. That post-match interview with Sam Laterna where he runs off and removes his mask, it's just absolutely delightful.
Foreshadowing.
And I certainly think that this program was a good opportunity, as well as the previous, to talk about a tag team that we've mentioned but haven't really dove into, and that's the Runway. And Calvin and Tyler, I think that speaks to the inverse of what you were talking about a moment ago in terms of getting to see my friends. I don't think in terms of seeing my friends. I thought in terms of I get to see people I train with, but I know those people and I already don't like them. So I want to meet other people. I want to meet the main event. I thought I wanted to meet Abs, and then I met Abs. So then that stopped being the case. And I got to meet the Runway as well. And these are people who had not existed in my social wrestling circle prior to that. And so it's delightful to see people of talent, refinement, and taste. And certainly in this case, the Runway got to make their mark on the program as well.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Runway.
I liked them when I seen them. The first show I seen them.
Yeah.
First show. The original Can't Believe. I'm like, oh, these people stand out.
Yeah,
they leave an impression.
So I want to. I'm trying to do this. Like I don't want to walk on eggshells or anything, but it's because it's not something that's normally in my wheelhouse, and I'm not really sure how to say it or speak on it because I don't want to be offensive, and I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just setting it up.
I'm
I feel
buckling
like
up.
I know exactly where you're going.
But like Leapfrog is very pro LGBTQ, right?
Yes.
And most of my wrestling experience growing up with WWE
has been the exact opposite.
The polar opposite.
Yes,
and anytime a character that is even introduced or shown, they're not taken seriously.
Yes.
They're evil. They're this. They're that. And so not only that, you don't really hear of people who are openly out in any fashion in professional wrestling. So Leapfrog for me and in the independent scene has shown that there's so much diversity of just human beings in general.
Which is great. I mean, wrestling
it's not like it's like, hey, they're just it's kind of like when you do intergender wrestling and you don't even acknowledge the fact that you're just seeing it for what it is and enjoying the art.
Yeah, two people having a match.
I feel like I don't mean to be rude. I wouldn't use the term pro LGBTQ. I would say we're just not anti anything that's positive, or we're very inclusive and accepting.
Yes.
There's not a lot of negative energy or anti anything at Leapfrog.
Yeah.
I know when I first got into wrestling, it was much different. And like that ACW that I wrestled for, like when I started there, when I started, it was like, whoa, it was the exact opposite. It was that it's all, great dudes and that's it. And then like now when I came back like 2 years ago, I'm like, wow, there's so many different types of people. This is great.
As just being like a kid from a little coal region town where like we didn't have a lot of people of color. It was just what it was. We were in Dawson's Creek, Pennsylvania. And then growing up, I was taught a different way of thinking and living. And when it comes to anything like that, like anything outside of that realm of what you would deem as like white American normal, and then like growing up, it's not even a thing to think about anymore. It's there. People are people, you know what I mean? And that's another thing for me that Leapfrog independent wrestling has changed my outlook on looking at stuff like that as well.
Just because a person's gay doesn't mean they're evil or a pervert. Or
it's
predator.
It's heartening to hear that. I think that it's also challenging to understand that, if that distinction makes any sense at all, because I don't know that it's a conscious effort.
Exactly.
But to Alex's point, that the effort is made to be inclusive, and it's made to be inclusive of people's identities. And professional wrestling, we can go back and look at all kinds of just abhorrent stereotypes. I've often challenged myself intellectually, and I always fail, to try to think of a wrestler of color who's existed historically in the World Wrestling Federation, who's not on some level, if only for a moment, had to represent a stereotype that really reminds you of how the organization views the centrality of their status, their social status. And even the other week, somebody reminded me, I'd completely forgotten about the existence of Orlando Jordan at all, let alone, I think it was in the ECW segments where he was, I think, wearing next to nothing and wrapped up in caution tape. But even something 15 years ago was playing on the same gay panic stereotypes that you could see in American pop culture in the mid-1950s. So I think that what we're seeing in Camp Leapfrog is something that we're seeing in wrestling much more broadly, which is an overt rejection, an overt conscious rejection of a lot of the complacent American hegemony of the last half century as represented in professional wrestling, and an overt seizure of what pro wrestling gets to be, and a reappropriation of what wrestling is and who it's for, and it's now for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's to me, it's another really big, like I will wave that Camp Leapfrog flag because of that reason as well. It's made me grow more as a person and becoming, I'm not saying that I wasn't accepting, but it was just something I had you have to learn. Like the same thing is like all that. If you're just raised and you're not around anything,
you only know one thing, that's all you know.
Exactly.
You only know what you know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, we
hypothesis is what it's called. The contact hypothesis.
Yeah.
We've had the discussion, and I think one of the most important things that is something that Leapfrog has been very conscious about and kind of a leader in a sense in the use of pronouns.
You took the words out of my mouth there. I was going to bring up the graphics with the little Valentine hearts on them.
Right. Yep. So I will give that credit to Edith Surreal. That was all her idea, and I think it was an absolute beautiful idea. I was one of the first people to say, yes, please, let's do that. Because if it's inclusive, I absolutely want it. And I know that we had talked about with you yourself that this is a learning thing. I need to be able to respect people and their identities, and I don't want to misgender them or misidentify them. And I think that's growth, and that's learning in itself for you as a person.
Yeah.
To know that you want to be inclusive, and you also want to learn how to be better at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something like with the pronouns, I still struggle because I just generalize and just say like I call everyone like hey guys or hey they, like that's just what and then I'm realized like oh you have to be careful with that because it could be not represented correctly, like, and that's something I learned like growing up, like once again growing up as a white kid, the way we made fun of each other is we called each other names that were homophobic slurs, and then I didn't realize that till actually where in my head where it clicked where I was uncomfortable with it, and it's a pro wrestling thing. I was a huge fan of Goldust. I just love the character Goldust. But I remember watching Goldust on TV, and he would hit the curtain or hit the ring, and every horrible thing was said to him. like, and I was just like, I'm not comfortable with that. And that's when it kind of like clicked on me, like maybe your words mean something more than that. You know what I mean? Now, I obviously he was representing a character and a thing there, but it was always I was drawn, and then I learned more about like glam wrestling because of Goldust, like in like Mexico and stuff like that.
The Exoticos,
the Exoticos and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, there's like I don't know, just learning. Pro wrestling is just an amazing, magical realm of the world where it's just like there's so much for everything in every avenue, and it's just like a never-ending rabbit hole, and it's a cool thing to be a part of. But yeah, anything else with Leapfrog before we get to our next one here?
No, I think we've summed it all up. Just a wonderful show.
Yeah,
top to bottom, the storytelling was excellent, the wrestling excellent, wonderful show all around.
Yeah, Leapfrog was one for me that that stuck with me for a couple weeks. I was like, man, like it was like a high. It was like,
it was a home run.
I can't believe I watched that. Like I talked about it. I probably talked to Alex's ear off numerous times. Like I can't believe you guys made that. Like because the whole time leading up to this, I'm just like, I'm jealous, man. You're killing it. Like, you know what I mean? Like we're in a pandemic. I haven't seen him in a year and a half. I haven't had a chance to like interact or see with him and like doing all this cool stuff. I was just like, Leapfrog for me was just like I used the home run.
Mm-hmm. And so then we go on to Camper's Choice, another Leapfrog Live, the most recent Leapfrog Live.
Yes.
Where you have a 6-way scramble. Ron Voyage defeats Abs, Big Game Leroy, Francis Wright, Sabre Dorado, and Trajan Horn. Tyrant, Grey Wolf, Raventhorn, and Warwolf Creed.
Hey.
Yes. Defeat Dan Champion and Rex Lawless.
We got it.
Thank you. Thank you. The applause from Dr. Wild means everything. King Crab defeats Hot Dog Starks. Becca and the Runway defeat Pancakes in the main event. We have a 4-corner survival match where the Crusher defeats Damaris Dawkins, Love Doug, and the Spoiler. In the Loser Eats Dog Food, Cleans the Latrine, and Salutes Their Shorts match, you have Erica Lee, Sonny Defarge, The Boar, and Willow Nightingale defeating Killian and his goons. It's Killian, El O'Neill, Miles Millennium, and stepping in the ring, Big Dust.
Yeah.
And then in the main event, we did also, how can we forget this? We have Dr. Ethan Wild and Johnny Moran. The real main event is what I meant to say there. Defeating Lucas DeSangro and Tommy Vex. And then the
janitor,
quote-unquote main event.
I love
lowly
that.
janitor.
Yes, the lowly janitors. And then in the quote-unquote main event, Max Zero does defeat Blank to be able to earn the right to unmask.
Yes.
Good-looking man. That's what you say about that main event.
Yeah.
A little scary with that one dive.
Oh, yeah.
But good-looking man.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is
the big thing here too is that is Dr. Ethan Wild is able to take his place in a position of power once again at Camp Leapfrog.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you don't do your due diligence, that's the sort of thing that happens. And does Brad Rush strike you as the kind of person who files paperwork on time? I think you know the answer to that.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think we're in better hands.
That's why I had to keep changing the stipulations of the match.
Yeah. It's all in a briefcase somewhere in the back of his car somewhere with that. But it's buried under everything else.
Yeah.
Now, Brian, as a wrestling historian, as I believe you are, when it comes to the storyline between Blank and Max Zero, how far back can you track that story?
I can definitely track it back to Blank having to put on a mask because he lost a match.
I feel like this is one of the coolest stories that we've done for me personally. There's a lot of history that goes into it and a lot of real life happenings.
Yeah, well, that
that
too,
go
where
into
like,
it.
yeah, you're even back to Lucha Libre, like you're saying how far back, going back decades to the beginning of Mexican wrestling. Sometimes you were assigned your role, you were assigned your identity, and that was your identity until you lost it.
And that's why a lot of people want to lose the mask because they want to break away from what they were given, especially when they're given something by
this to me feels like a very like real life therapeutic type of a closure, kind of a story, and that resonates with me. I very much enjoyed that.
Early on in his training, Max Zero used to tell me all the time about how much he loved Duke the Dumpster Drosy, and his father was a garbage man, and how he aspired to be a garbage man himself when he grew up. And he went to the promoter and said, "I am a garbage man, and I wish to be a garbage man." Instead, he became Max Zero. So he got what he wanted ultimately when he lost the mask and became a garbage man, a good-looking one nevertheless. But to Alex's point, there is, first off, extreme liberation. And I think that there's really two levels of liberation. One, that if you're watching the match, first off, it's an incredible match and well worth going back to see. Both competitors indisputably earned the right to remove their mask. Only one person had the option to do so. Unfortunately, we'll have to have another Lucha de Apuesta in order to make that happen. Maybe we could select somebody to put under a mask. Right, a mask on versus mask off match, and whoever you have in mind. But certainly, Max earned the right to be able to do so in that match, and certainly the exhilarating feeling of being able to do so. I think more liberating than even a fan might be able to understand by watching what they did see transpire.
Yeah. So I can fill in from the fan perspective. So I don't know much about the background. I learned through Leapfrog. So once again, to piggyback off of Lovefrog, Sam kills it when it comes to the pre-show and really explaining this setup and the promos that were done by both competitors going into it that were shared on social media, and then learning more about why this is so important was once again A+ by Leapfrog production, just to get it out there to understand that they're now not only you're going to get a superstar main event, but the build up to that main event is being done so well of what you're going to get from that.
Well, it adds to because you know why they're fighting.
Exactly.
You know, usually mask versus mask is the winner keeps their mask.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, and those are the stakes. Like it's not. When it's a mask versus mask match where you're losing a mask, you're losing your identity. This is the opportunity to reclaim your identity, to forge out or claim your own identity, rather.
Yeah.
And then
this is a very interesting spin on.
This is the first one we were welcomed in to be part of the production team and stuff like that with this show. So being there live is everything that we just talked about before. How it's just like a family and everyone's there and supportive. And I just remember after the match when he wins and he leaves the ring and everyone just embraces him with a big hug and just congratulate him for that. You just said that liberation of losing that mask and forging his own identity. It was a powerful moment, and it was not something I won't soon forget. Just that another, once again, a main event show that just really took hold for Leapfrog.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. For me, I have one last thing. Standout in this show for me, Willow.
Willow, yeah.
Became a fan.
That was the first time we saw her?
Yeah, that was my first time seeing Willow.
The first time we see Willow Nightingale, you remember.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then recently she just got to wrestle Thunder Rosa in AEW, which is another one of my favorite people to watch right now in wrestling. So to see them, go at it, it was very, very exciting. And also before that main event, getting a few matches on AEW was very, very exciting. It just, seeing that progression from people you meet at camp, then going on to do awesome, awesome stuff. Anything else with Camper's Choice?
Just an excellent show. This is, I think, the first appearance of King Crab.
Yes. This also ties in. Yes.
Who did not pass away, but simply decided to ascend to a higher authority. ceasing to become a hermit and ascending to royalty. And so I got this, this is the first time I was able to see King Crab, and I think that he had an excellent re-debut, shall we say, and he's a much more attractive, as much as the unbearable lightness of being subject to Max Zero and his perpetual selfie. I'm happy for his outcome, although I'm displeased that we have the success and aren't I handsome deluge in our Twitter feeds every day. There's not enough said about, and I don't know what that word is. It's just modern youth drivel. It's pablum as far as I'm concerned.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know what it meant either.
We simply don't talk enough about how much better looking King Crab is now.
Yeah,
I think so. I think he deserves some attention too.
I agree. And to that same point, when you move into the next show, I don't want to completely jump there yet, but also kind of shedding their past and dawning anew is when we finally see Edith Surreal shed the still life and become her true self at the Frog Sport.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you want to kind of bridge to that, we did have an art exhibition that got ruined in between the two shows.
Before you hit that, quick plug, Camper's Choice with multiple camera angles will be uploaded
and
quite soon to
and multiple camera angles and the debut of Sam and Edith's commentary debuts.
This is true.
Yeah. Yes, that we did not get a chance to hear. I'm fortunate I got to hear it, and they were fantastic as commentary team.
Yeah, so actually Edith debuts her new name at Camper's Choice via commentary.
Yes, so that's a cool thing too. If you are subscribed to IWTV, you can go and see all of these shows, and that's going to be possibly a theme going forward, where maybe what you experience live on Facebook will not be
different.
Will look a little differently when it gets uploaded later.
Almost like those old Coliseum video exclusives. They would always have those when you would get the tape of the show. There'd be this little backstage interview you didn't see if you had the pay-per-view.
I did see it move from a different angle or something. You know, or I don't know if there's replays.
Well, this commentary told me I call it Lord Alfred.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah. That's another thing that they do very well at Camp Leapfrog is the commentary teams, how they change and vary the commentaries.
I like that.
Always on point.
Yeah.
It reminds me of an actual summer camp. Yeah. Well, be nice. I do like that though. It reminds me of the everybody gets to play type of thing that you would experience at a camp.
Yeah. So just for me personally speaking, and just to kind of attribute to what we've been saying as well, is Camp Leapfrog not only just for a wrestling show, but everything involved, where people are able to maybe step out of their comfort zone when it's something that maybe not just in front of a camera and being in the ring and wrestling. Like, it's an opportunity for people to learn new things and grow. When I went there, I was just bringing equipment to be like, hey, whatever I have, you guys can use. I have all these cameras and all this cool stuff. So I was just like, hey, use it for the day, and I'll kind of sit back and just get out of the way. And they're like, well, no, you can run a camera. You can help with your audio board. You can do this and that. And I was kind of plugged into something I wasn't even expecting. Mm-hmm. And learning that, like, people who are on the roster who are talented video editors themselves, and the video editing team that's there, it's like Camp Leapfrog also shows that behind the scenes there's people who are so talented at doing so many amazing things, like graphic design, video editing, and all this really, really cool stuff. And that was something I got to really get to see more of, being a little behind the curtain with the Camp Leapfrog production team, and they're absolutely fantastic.
Some people do more than just wrestle.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's also a place to, like, be able to try something new if you're interested in that. There's something that I definitely wasn't initially interested in, not since my first appearance on stage in high school, where I was a stage manager and then thrusted into the play because the understudy had to quit. No, well, they did. They had like a soccer game or something. Apparently, that's more important than performing. But I
mean, I played soccer, so it's kind of important.
Yeah, I haven't felt quite this way since then. When Chris was like, "Hey, there's a tadpole match. Why don't you do commentary on it with the maestro?" And I'm like, "Whoa, that's out of my wheelhouse." But after 3 hours of trying to get that commentary just right, I very much enjoyed it. I can't wait to do more.
That's because it was a 3-hour match.
Yeah.
No,
It was that
That's
Death
what it
and
was.
Iron Man match from Fight Forever.
that Chris Hero and I forget.
It was a lot of trial and error of self-critiquing.
Yeah, when I showed up that day and they're like, "Oh, cool, you have all this really cool stuff. You're gonna run hard cam." I literally went over to Alex and I was like, "I don't know if I can do this." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "I respect this brand too much. I don't want to be the reason it looks like shit." Yeah, but it was fun. And then just I learned how to edit a little bit, like just kind of taught myself Adobe and got to do some cool stuff. And I would have never done that if Leapfrog didn't kind of push me into bettering myself as a person as well in that aspect as a content creator, is not just a guy who does a podcast. So I definitely thank them for that as well. All right, let's get into Frog Sport.
Frog Sport, Matt Mikowski's Frog Sport. Put some respect on it. So it's a tournament. And so with our opening round, before the Frog Sport proper, we do have the opening session. And you have Yo-Yo defeating Boomer Hatfield. You have Jordan Blade defeating Molly McCoy. Violence defeating Bones. Matt Mikowski defeating Blackstrom. Darius Carter defeating Abby Jane. Saber Dorado defeating Nola Catano. Janai Kai defeating Big Calix. And Travis Huckabee defeating Jay Lyon.
Yes.
I believe we've lost on the video. We've lost Ethan.
Nope.
We might have lost him totally.
He's still there. We'll just kind of do this until he pops back.
Mm-hmm.
So opening round. Well, before we get to that, the opening promo that was done where Matt fights the ninjas.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to give, once again, we were kind of talking about people behind the scenes that you don't know how they're talented in that aspect. That was, if I'm not mistaken, Alex, that was done by Matt.
Yeah, as he said on your show, this is what he went to school for. That was some top quality editing, the effect with the eyes and such. Mm-hmm. I was incredibly impressed. The first time I saw that, I believe, was right after a show we did, and I was blown away that was something we were going to put on screen with that kind of special effects and editing. And that's all due to Matt Mikowski.
And so huge credit for him as not just being a badass, but also a badass video editor. And that hallway fight scene was very Daredevil-esque. It looked like a lot like Daredevil. It was done very, very well.
Yeah. So another credit that I will give to everybody that we're starting to see with this show, Camp Leapfrog, which was Eva Surreal's it didn't have her name in the title, but it was her show, right? Mm-hmm. And then moving forward to Big Calix's titled Heavyweights, these characters get to also put a different hat on. They get to be a director. They get to be, somewhat of a booker, and they get to play producer. And it's very interesting to see how somebody like that would produce a show. Because you're like, okay, they're just going to go. They're a wrestler. This is what they do. But no, these are very multi-talented people, and they're getting these opportunities to do that with a show themed through their character, which is a lot of fun.
And it was very cool to see that, because you had hosts in a few of the you had Things to Go Bump and Ring, you had Fright Mare, and then you had Ultra Santis Black. And I loved seeing Ultra Mantis Black again.
Hallow Wicked, actually.
Hallow Wicked, not Fright Mare.
But still, I love seeing Ultra Mantis Black.
Yeah.
Anytime you can see him.
I'm no longer in my home studio, but there is an Ultra Mantis Black poster on my wall there. So yeah, I was happy about that. But yes, but having it tied to the characters that are in Camp Leapfrog and our fixtures on the show does really add another element to it.
I think as fans too, we can turn around and be like, who is going to be the next show? Like I'm a huge fan.
And what will it be like? That's
Molly.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Like, what if we do like a hockey themed Molly's? Like, it just really gets the fans' gears turning, as well as creative, to be like, who could be the next one to host a show?
It changes it up.
Yeah, it's fun. It makes it fun.
Well, I can't wait until we have Dr. Wild, and it's like a Wrestling at the Chase theme where it's in an elegant ballroom. It's going to be amazing.
I don't know that the budget allows for such a chandelier at this point, but I would certainly love.
Just get one from AEW. It's fine.
The cynic in me was thinking about something utterly dreadful, like a brunch-themed pancakes program, or Jet Chagori's Trap House, or something utterly appalling.
Jet Chagori's Trap House sounds great.
Or a hot dog eating contest.
The Glizzy Fest.
The Glizzy Fest, yeah.
Can you bring that guy in, that hot dog champion? Or I think it was a girl, the one that I forget.
It's a girl, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like 115 pounds.
They're all tiny.
I don't even know where she puts it. I follow her on TikTok, and she just goes to these places and there's these 400-pound dudes, and they're like, she just sits down and she's like eating contest, and she just houses them. Like she's done in like a half hour, and they're still like, I'm gonna die. And she's like, you guys suck.
You get that nice Nathan's title. It's all about that Nathan's title.
Yeah, she's a monster.
I'm gonna die when I'm 40, but I got that Nathan's title.
This makes me really unhappy.
All right, so before we get into the first round here, before we just glaze over it, we get to see the beginning of the maybe breaking the code. Now there is no rules.
Yes, that's true.
So let's make that very clear. There is no rules to frog sport.
Oh, okay.
But there is a code of honor, and in the first round,
not that code of honor.
Not the handshake before the match.
No, but Darius breaks that code of honor in the first match. He does not let go of the submission on Abby, and
but you cannot pin in frog sport.
No, it's TKO or
some rules.
Submission.
Yes. Yeah, TKO or submission.
Okay,
but you can't be disqualified. There are suggestions that you do not hit below the belt.
Okay.
There are suggestions
that poke the eyes,
right?
Eye gouges, close fist,
pull the hair.
You can close fist, but it's kind of the code of honor not to do it.
Oh,
yes. Grabbing the clavicle,
small joint manipulation.
Yes. So the first round kind of shows that Darius he's in it to win it, no matter what it takes to do so. Mm-hmm. He's here at all costs.
And it's also very important that he collects the the elbow pad.
Yes, he takes an elbow pad from her in the first round. So let's get into the second round. Yeah, it was a very good idea.
And then also bending rules a little bit was Janai with the punch below the belt.
Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if you were going to strictly single out Darius Carter for the code, or if we were going to actually talk more equitably about other variations of those who failed to follow it in the first round. Good work.
Yes, it was.
Oh, it's okay when Hogan does it, isn't it?
Yeah. So there was a low blow that got I guess it was more the fans kind of let it pass because it had a little bit of a Mortal Kombat.
I was
to
upset.
It. Yeah.
I was like, get some control.
If you've ever been hit below the belt, you should be upset about that.
the Dustin whoopsie was done very well. All right, round two.
So then we move on to the quarterfinals of the tournament, where Yoya defeats Jordan Blade, Matt Mikowski defeats Violence, and
Is this with the armbar off the top, or is that the
no? That would be our main event.
This is the Razor's Edge.
That is a hell of a second round match, though.
Yeah,
those are two people who could have won the whole thing.
Yeah.
Darius Carter defeats Saber Dorado after removing his mask. Yes.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do in Lucha Libre, removing a mask, or AEW Dark, removing a mask.
Yeah.
Then you had Janai Kai defeating Travis Huckabee in a bit of an upset, I would say.
Yeah.
Undersized, but a lot of grit there. And then in the semis, Matt Mikowski defeats Yoya, and Darius defeats Janai in some very, very, very strong matches, I would say. And Darius Carter continues his collection. He collects Saber's mask. He collects Janai's headband. And the crowd does not like it. They turn their back on him.
Yeah. Before we get too far, I want to give some credit here. First time ever really seeing a lot of these competitors, but the Yoya Matt Mikowski match for me really, really blew me away. It showed me a lot watching it. Now, obviously, I took a little break from professional wrestling for a while. We talked about in this show because I became a big mixed martial arts fan. I just fell in love with it. And at the time, WWE was just not hitting the mark for me, and I kind of stepped away as a fan. And coming back into professional wrestling, and not so much stepping away from MMA, but not watching it as much as I used to. Learning about this style of blood sport and frog sport and this style of wrestling was exciting to me. And being there live, I was like hyped. I was really enjoying it. And visually, you see a guy like Matt and then a guy like Yoya, you're like, he's gonna kill this guy because there's a huge size difference. But the way it was done and the way Yoya went in there and competed, it was one of the favorite matches of the day for me, and I wanted to see more of Yoya because I thought that match was a really, really good standout for him. And then once I seen him build WrestleMania weekend to go against Leo Rush at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 6, I was like, I'm in. Like this is right up my alley. What I want to see. So that was before we get to the main event. That was a match for me that really, really stood out.
And one thing we kind of neglected to mention here were the open swim matches. Miles Millennium defeating Kim and MK.
Great match there too as well.
Arthur Namada, the former Xavier Faraday, defeats Eel O'Neill by disqualification. And then I believe in an alternate match, in case somebody was unable to compete in the tournament, you had Maximilian Zero defeating CC Boost by KO.
Yeah.
In a war. It was quick, but it was...
Yeah.
They went for it.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Anything there?
I remember watching that CC Boost Max match. Man, I just it was something else. You know,
you have to be emotional after the day too. That's a bond there. You and CC.
Yeah, well, of course. You did fail to mention the after scene, but I feel like
yes.
Let's leave that for people to go back and watch. We don't have to talk.
Yeah, it's on IWTV. Yeah,
that's right. But I love me some Boost, but I just thought that match, watching it live, was a slugfest. It was something special. It was really fast, a lot of fireworks. It was a lot of fun. Probably one of my favorite matches of the day, to be honest.
I actually found CC's Boost's mouthpiece like in the bushes. I was like, "You here?" He's like, "Oh, I had no idea where that went," because I think he got smacked out of his mouth and I went like 2.5 miles down.
Yeah, they were going to town.
Yeah, it was a slugfest. I remember watching. I was like, did they not like each other? Like, what is going on here? They were like,
look, CC Boost has a track record since his debut at the sleepover. He's just balls to the wall.
Yeah. It was a fantastic match.
A competitive spirit in both. Indisputable. And Matt Hero is one of the most amiable human beings that you might meet, which is incidentally what I find most repulsive about him, is that he's always delightful and he's always happy. But that doesn't mean that he's not capable, and he's extraordinarily capable when you get him in the ring. You can be friends the moment before the bell rings. You can be friends the moment the bell rings again. But in those moments in between, there's no difference between you and his sincere worst enemy. I think the same can be said of CC Boost, as is evident by that match.
Yeah. I would agree, and they definitely showcased that tremendously in that fight, because that's pretty much what it was. It was a fight. They just went at it. So the Cayman and the Miles match and the CC Boost.
Both alternate matches.
We're both alternate matches. Yes. If you have not seen that match that we're talking about, it doesn't last very long, but it is up right now on Facebook, Instagram as well, so you can go and check them. And Instagram and Twitter. You can. It's a quick watch. It's only a couple minutes, but they are up there.
Well, those opening round matches, and I don't know, I'm guessing this was the same for the alter matches. You kind of had to go fast because there was only a 5-minute time limit.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
So if you didn't go fast, you're going to go out because it would have been a draw.
And then also on the show, there was a tag team match.
Yes. 2 other matches.
Non-blood sport rules or blood sport.
Yeah, non-tournament matches. You had Devantes and Jet Jagori defeating the world famous CB and Ryan Nova. And then you also had a Soviet death match. Before this match, though, you had a phenomenal video package just leading up to everything, showing everything that led up to this, really establishing who Masha and Edith were. And then the match delivers just as much as that video package did.
As you're talking
filmed
about,
in Russia.
As you're talking about that video promo, I literally got chills again.
Yeah.
Like,
there's snow all over for those who haven't seen it.
Well, we're talking about the promo before the match, the little promo they cut.
I feel like that's the cinematography of Greg, who is one of the.
I messaged him immediately. I was like, Greg, that was one of the best. So I haven't seen a promo like that until, what was the one with Limp Bizkit?
The My Way one.
The My Way. As a video package, it was done very, very well.
I watched it via mute.
Yes. I mean, if you don't like the music, the video package itself was done very, very well.
It's a easy term.
Yes, but I mean, it was one of those things where the video package, if you watch that and you're like, I'm not going to go subscribe, or I'm not going to check this match out tonight.
Yeah. It gets you hype, it gets you ready for the match.
You were.
And Masha just jumps off the screen. The character jumps off the screen. Well, it's her. Like, she is such an indelible, just mean, nasty person. You see it immediately.
Yeah. And then the match 100% delivers.
Yeah.
It is in the tundra. It is freezing cold. There's snow. There's ice everywhere.
But like in Siberia.
Yeah, and they just go out and just pretty much try to kill each other
and almost succeed.
Yeah,
in normal wrestling attire. I just want to put it out there.
yes.
Yeah.
So
Especially Edith. Edith is she's wearing long sleeves, but there's a lot of exposed skin.
Yeah. And
Masha's wearing her Timberland. She's wearing long pants.
Yeah,
Edith is
not
very
wearing,
much exposed.
snowsuits or anything.
yeah, I mean, Chris was as a referee.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
he looked like he was about to rob somebody.
Clearly, the big takeaway is that the bunkhouse brawl style apparel of jeans tucked into cowboy boots with your cut-off white T-shirt that says "American Dream" on it is, in fact, the U.S. tradition. Soviet death matches, you wear your traditional ring apparel, right?
especially when it's in the snow.
Yes.
Yeah.
A few high spots or takeaways from that match. First one is the move off the apron into the snow.
Oh.
So you think to yourself, oh, they jumped into a snow pile. How terrible is that? Well, it looked like in Russia, it looked like it snowed, then ice storm, then snowed, then ice storm, because they jumped onto this pile of
Russia,
snow.
it's tundra.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I feel like
move.
saying pile makes it feel like it was artificial.
No.
That is naturally iced over snow.
Yeah,
It was absolutely brutal.
it was in the middle of a field, and they shoveled out enough to build a ring there, or have a ring set up, and then whatever was left around the ring that they didn't shovel was just natural, from snow.
Just think if you slip and fall and you put your hand into the snow.
Yeah,
How
well,
that feels, and especially if it's a little hard.
you could have walked on this. There was no give.
Wow.
It supported my weight.
Yeah, there was no give. There was no give to it. So when they slammed each other onto it, you might as well just did it right on concrete.
Yeah, it's like going through like a
block of ice.
Oh, it looked not fun.
I was 13 years old when I went skiing for the first time. Perhaps I should have been younger, and I wasn't good at it the first time I did. By the end of the night, I decided that I could stand upright on my skis, and therefore I should try the Black Diamond slope at the slopes I was at. As intelligent as I might be now, that was not necessarily the case then. I immediately, once I started going down the slope, I lost both of my skis. I ended up turned onto my belly, but with my feet facing towards the bottom of the hill. So I slid on my bare chest for about a quarter mile or however long the length of this entire slope was. So I have experienced a level of trauma, both of landing on hard ice and then traveling on it for a long distance. Watching this match, it is very easy to make the extremely erroneous conclusion that falling on snow is somehow comfortable. And it's so contrary to what you might expect, that if you felt it before, if you watch the match in general, it's a brawl. It's extraordinary from start to finish. It's clear these two people revile each other's presence and will do anything in their physical capacity to end the other one, incapacitate the other one. That's true of anybody who watches that match. If you've ever fallen on hard iced over snow, accentuate everything I just said by a power of 10 or more. It's not just another exquisite brawl, but it's one that has this added factor of the climate that nobody else is stupid, and I say stupid in an extraordinarily complimentary way, is stupid enough to risk their well-being to do. My hat's off to both of them in that match.
Yeah, and that's just the first spot we're getting to.
Yeah.
Which is a lot to say for
that.
Yeah, there's still 20 more minutes left of this match in the cold. A stop sign is used at some point.
From Russia with Love.
Yes. This is where I think I fell in love with Masha, is when she hit it with a stop sign. First, she poison mist her, so there's the green mist. I'm a sucker for poison mist. Anyone who uses it, I fall in love with. So the mist is off her, her face is bloody, and she's just standing there with the stop sign for Russia with Love, and I was like, I'm in love. She's my new favorite.
And was that before or after she came off the roof?
Oh, this is way before that. So then there's a powerbomb spot from the inside of the ring to the out at one point. That happens where just onto the launch, just launched where I was like, she's dead. And then Masha climbs up on top of this roof. It looks like the top. That's the way the camera caught it, where she comes over the top of the roof, and it's just a huge peak roof. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, first off, jumping off that's going to be terrifying.
Walking on it had to be terrifying.
The walk down this pitched roof to get to where you're going to jump looked even scarier.
Well, when you lived in Siberia your whole life, that's probably old hat to her.
And I mean, the whole match, she's smashing vodka down the whole time too. So I'm sure that confidence helped her out. But then she does a splash off this roof through a door to Edith. It was just they gave no regard to their own personal safety to just how he was saying to end the other one. And it was
and with all the things you're saying, all the things that happened to her, who got her hand raised?
Edith
Surreal.
Edith Surreal wins
on the road in Russia, gets her hand raised against probably her toughest opponent yet, all due respect to Effie.
Yeah, so here's where it gets interesting. So Masha beats Edith at GCW, right? At the Fight Forever show. Edith beats Masha in Russia. So I'm sensing a best of 3 here. And a part of me doesn't want it to happen because I don't know if one of them is going to walk out of it, which is it's kind of terrifying to think
Here's
about.
another thing to think of. And I don't know if this is something that's been discussed internally or not. This is just me spitballing here. The Can't Believe Frog champion is hurt.
Yeah.
And hurt pretty bad, unfortunately. All the best to a very good professional wrestler. Who is more deserving of that title if he can't make it than Edith Surreal?
Like a little interim match.
I say don't just give it to her though.
No, you have to work.
No,
for
I don't
it.
like that. You have to wrestle.
That'd be interesting. That's interesting.
We'll
put that out to the brass here to figure that out.
Put it out into the ether.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say to whom?
To the brass, the top.
Wow, I thought somebody called me by my first name rather than Dr. Wild. I was going to take umbrage with that.
No.
I'll say that we certainly wish a very good professional wrestler well, and a fighting champion, and incredible hand, positive attitude, positive to the point of revulsion, at least on my part, throughout this entire unfortunate week. The commission is discussing it. We're looking into our options currently. We're not rushing into any decisions. We want to make sure that a very good professional wrestler remains informed of the options in front of him and is at least given some agency into that decision. But first things first, we want to make sure that he's healing up.
Yeah,
that is definitely the most important thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, I put a tweet out. I just said, hey, you guys, you two are 1-1 right now. And you ladies have to finish this, possibly best out of 3, and they both retweeted it and seemed like they were interested, which is once again to me kind of terrifying because
I don't know how you one up what they did.
Yeah, the lengths of what they're willing to go to get that W.
Exact opposite.
Yeah.
Do a rules match.
Yeah,
I feel like there's a extra insurance policy pending for that match.
You short the insurance policy. We'll fly out to Moab and put a ring on top of a large mesa and just have them whoever's alive at the end and it just walks off the end.
Yeah,
that would be
I think that's really all that's left in terms of escalation.
I would agree.
It's gonna be like when they had that match. Was it Inoki or no Onita and Tiger Jeet Singh? They just put them on an island and like, okay, whoever comes back wins.
Yeah. And then we get to the main event, which is going to be
the finals.
Darius versus
Matt Mikowski.
Matt Mikowski. I was
names on the show.
Yeah. To find out who the top frog is, and boy, they went for it as well. They tried to murder each other. Matt ended up with a pretty busted up mouth. They had some blood coming out of his mouth there. They went at it. Darius showed throughout the entire show he's a technician. He's gonna find a weak spot on your body and he's gonna go for it. Not saying that Darius had an easy path to the top, because he definitely didn't. Janai really hurt him a lot with leg kicks and really worked his legs heavily. But Matt went through some wars and he went through some real top. Most of the people, just to give a little bit of credit, everyone that kind of Matt went against, if he didn't win that match, they could have been the person in the final.
Oh yeah.
They were all very, very talented people. The whole block was, but I just think Matt had a really hard road to get there. So they're both going into this, and it's just beat up. And Darius did a great job just really working on what was already hurt and keep trying to lock it in and go for it. When Matt had the free time to go, he would try to get those leg kicks in to really knock down Darius. But overall, great match. It ends with a
highlight reel,
like a Spanish fly
arm
bar,
yeah,
like
flying arm bar.
It was absolutely incredible. It is on Twitter. You can check out that highlight. It was I think everyone in attendance did not see it coming. Matt always says he's going to find unique ways to pull arm bars out of anywhere, and
cool.
he definitely found one there, and it was enough to get the job done.
And if you notice, a lot of the people who are sharing the GIF of that on Twitter are professional wrestlers, are people, very esteemed professional wrestlers. Tom Lawler.
Seen it.
Tom Lawler, the New Japan Strong champion, the American wing of New Japan's champion, called Matt Mikowski his favorite wrestler.
Wow, that's awesome.
In a quote tweet on that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that move. I'm not a fan of this style at all, but I love it. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I ate this up. I loved every.
Well, I don't like MMA. So.
Yeah, I ate it up. I thought it was a great show. And then at the very end, Alex, what happens here at the end of this?
The the infamous Thunder Frog appears in the sky like Shao Kahn at the end of Mortal Kombat, letting Matt Mikowski know that even though he's not the top frog, that he is the top frog, that he is not quite the top frog. He has yet to beat a god.
Let's make sure that we follow. Don't run headfirst into any copyright trouble. This is the Thunder God that we're talking about.
Indeed. Indeed.
So that kind of wraps up Frog Sport. Once again, the maestro with the music in that program, unbelievable. Definitely sets a tone. He does an amazing job. People blowing up him on Twitter. The production team, fantastic job. They did a great job with all the shots and the edits and everything. But yeah, so that's going to take us here to what's coming up.
Yeah, the upcoming show.
The
next
heavyweights.
weekend. Yeah.
Next weekend, we get a live show on Facebook, free for everyone who wants to check it out. The Big Calix presents the heavyweight show. So this is kind of crazy because Calix loses early in the first round, but throughout the show he became this personality. And people on Twitter were really rallying around, like, we need more Calix. We need more Calix.
And he befriended the person who defeated him, Janai Kai. And
yeah, he became his corner man. And it just kind of, everyone was just really, really on social media and internet, just like, we want more Big Calix. And boy, did they get what they wanted, because he's going to be the host of the next show.
Yeah.
You want to run through some of the announcements, Brian?
Yeah, so it's the heavyweight. So again, we are going to, and Big Calix is, of course, big. So that's going to be the focus of this show. Just announced very recently announced was Big Effin' Vinny with his new name.
I like Vinny. I wrestled him once at Outbreak.
This isn't a trade secret, right? This.
It might be.
Okay.
I would stay away from it just in case.
Okay. Yeah, I know he's put this out on Twitter. Formerly Dominic Truex. He's been in Leapfrog before, but not as Big Effin' Vinny. Head of the GCW ring crew. All this stuff is on his Twitter account, so I think we're being kind of free and clear here. Yeah. And definitely it's 6'4", 350 fits the bill for the show.
Jeez.
Then you have a Hosslet. So there's a little bit of weight class here. You have your heavyweights, you have your Hosslets, and you have the weenie weights. The weenie weights.
But they're all a lot.
Yeah. Cole Radrick, a native of Indiana, another guy who's done a lot with GCW, a former champion of not the PPW local to us, but Paradigm Pro Wrestling. Another PPW. He is a former champion there. Devantes, definitely a Camp Leapfrog fixture, a former guest on this show. Very much a heavyweight. He will be on this show. Although not as much of a heavyweight as Vinny. Look like he was in a lot better. He's
conditioning.
Conditioning has gotten a lot better, I think. The Runway are in the weenie weight division.
Love it.
But yeah, anytime you can see the Runway wrestle, you should see the Runway wrestle.
I may be the owner of a brand new Runway T-shirt. I have a T-shirt addiction, and the Runway was just added to my collection.
Main Event also representing the weenie weight.
I have every one of their shirts as well.
In the Hosslet division, Travis Huckabee. Travis Huckabee is going to be involved in the show.
He could beat a bear. He could beat a heavyweight.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then
he hasn't also beaten a bear yet.
It's coming.
He's training for it.
Also coming to Camp Leapfrog from Indiana, another GCW veteran, the man who retired Eric Stevens.
Ooh.
Hoodfoot. Mo Atlas is going to be there.
Not familiar at all, but I like the name.
He was also on For the Culture for
okay.
GCW. Boar will have a mystery partner. The Boar will be involved. Max Zero, the very handsome Max Zero will be involved. Abs will be involved.
Old Abs. Will he get his first win at heavyweight?
Well, the participation trophy
we'll
maybe
see.
on the line.
We'll see what happens with Abs there.
And then we have Tyrant. The tag team of Tyrant will be there. Darius Carter will be there. Much to the chagrin of much of the other campers.
He is coming with a chip on his shoulder because he
so
did close. Not, he did not take that loss well, and I would not want to be across the ring from him at that show.
And there is another pretty big announcement. I believe it was our first announcement, which is somebody I've had my eye on.
I think
back when I was involved in PPW, not the Paradigm Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I'm actually scrolling down to it.
Are we talking about
Max the Impaler?
Yes, Max the Impaler.
I very much had my eye on them back then when I thought I had some sort of say somewhere, but I didn't.
What a look.
Very successful, pretty much wherever they've went, too. IWA Mid-South champion there, champion in H2O Wrestling, and OVW, the same title held by Beth Phoenix and Serena Deeb. The OVW Women's Championship, Max the Impaler held that.
Yeah. Terrifying. I would not want to wrestle her.
And last, kill you. Last but certainly...
I'm sorry. It looks like they will kill you. Yeah. Like if the lights were off and Max and the Fiend were in the same room, I would probably run to the Fiend. I would take my chances in that. I would take my chances on that side of the room before I ran towards Max.
And then last but not certainly not least, Matt Mikowski has also been in the heavyweight.
Yes, and there's a little tag to his banner there.
Mikowski's.
Yeah, there's I don't know if you noticed, there's a Frog Sport emblem on his banner.
So is that going to carry over?
That may or may not, but may mean something.
Yeah, because we did kind of say that maybe the Frog Sport show won't return right away, but maybe the idea of a Frog Sport rules match may carry over. So kind of what we talked about previously on the show.
You're inferring from what I said, but it's it may be possible. Yeah,
because that was one of the questions. Are we going to get more Frog Sport? People like it.
Possible in the World Wrestling Federation.
We love it. We love to hear that speculation is out there. Yeah. So
that's a loaded. That's so much talent there, and so many new faces too. Hoodfoot, Max the Impaler, and some old favorites. Just a great mix.
Yeah. So where and when can we watch this, Alex?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm gonna say.
It.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say. I'm gonna say. I'm gonna give you the credit. Go ahead and.
That's only a week away.
Sunday.
Hold on, I got this. I got it.
Sunday.
Loading. 5/16 at 8 p.m.
Sunday, May 16th, 8 p.m. Only on Facebook.com/Independent Wrestling.
And the link is below. So if you want to check that out, we do have the link for Independent Wrestling on Facebook. We have the link for Independent Wrestling TV. You can go and subscribe. I believe it's like $10 a month.
I think $9.99.
Yes.
$9.99. Yeah, $10 a month. $9.99. Subscribe to it. There's so much great content on there. You can see a lot of the people you're probably watching now in AEW and maybe NXT competing on their independent scenes. There's tons and tons of content. I know just WrestleMania weekend alone, they have added like 9 or 10 more shows. There was one that just aired, I believe, yesterday that I'm really excited to watch. So I didn't have a chance to watch yet.
I know Beyond Wrestling upcoming. I'm not sure the exact date of their show, but that's where the next title match, the IWTV title, will be defended. Lee Moriarty defending against Wheeler Yuta.
Okay.
The Beyond one I want to watch is the one that aired
that
yesterday.
Actually did just happen yesterday.
Oh, it was tonight?
The reality show, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wheeler Yuta is our new independent wrestling champion.
You didn't even give him a chance to watch the match. You just
I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
I'm turning heel soon.
Yeah. But if some of the names that we did talk about are on there, Edith, Matt Mikowski, Masha is on that show. Somebody else who I've kind of had my eye on for a while in the independent scene is I just literally Lady Frost and the gentleman, the Savage Gentleman. Yes. Yeah, the Savage Gentleman. Both were Savage Gentleman was on Jock Barnett's Bloodsport. And he has a great look. I watched some of his matches. Very talented. I believe they're from the Pittsburgh area, if I'm not mistaken.
They moved to the Pittsburgh area. They were actually invited to the first 2 Camp Leapfrogs, but unfortunately, this was a time where they were moving to Pittsburgh.
No, I believe Lady Frost also had an NXT appearance at one point in time. I could be wrong on that.
She was on Dark.
She was on Dark, but I believe she also had an appearance in NXT with like maybe she's supposed to make like a tournament appearance or something. I could be wrong, but I was just kind of like watching some of their social media posts. And I've also seen, it's kind of fun, they were married by Mick Foley.
Oh wow.
Yeah, in real life. Pretty exciting to hear
Mick
about.
Foley was an ordained.
Legitimate or not?
Yeah, I don't know if it's legitimate, but that's kind of what my research found out.
Hey Mick, can you marry us? I guess.
If we're plugging stuff on IWTV, if you want to go back and look through the Masked Wrestler, many people we've talked about and others are on that show, including maybe some at least one camper I know of that you won't know they were, but one of them was involved in the Masked Wrestler.
Oh. Stop giving away all the damn secrets.
It's like that show on NBC or whatever. Yeah.
I'd like to make a personal appeal to the people who are listening or watching. Look, you're not going to listen to me if I say put your phones away and put your devices away and pick up a book and learn something for a change in your life. I know I don't have the power to change the life of lethargy that you live, but look, life is short, and there's hundreds of hours, dozens of hours of new professional wrestling content created every single week. Is Camp Leapfrog what you're going to love? I certainly hope so. We all hope so. Is Beyond going to be what you love? I hope so too. They're really good folks and they put together a great product. But ultimately, there's so much professional wrestling created every week, and there's video made of it, and it's available. Life is too short to watch pro wrestling that makes you mad. So if you find that you're watching wrestling on Monday and you've wasted 3 hours of your life because you think, I hate everything I've just seen, or you watch an incredible 2-ring cage match, a bloody brawl on Wednesday, and you see that last 15 seconds of it, you say, I hate this now. Don't do that to yourself. Find what you like and watch it, and you're going to find plenty to like on IWTV, whether it's Camp Leapfrog, whether it's Beyond, whether it's New South and the Buick-sized championship belt that they have around the waist of Cabana Man Dan. There is professional wrestling for you to like. Do yourself a favor, subscribe to IWTV, and do something with yourselves that you find enjoyable instead of just being miserable all the time.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this episode. Anything you got? Well, let's start with our guest. Anything you just want to plug and get out there?
I want to plug heavyweights. We've talked about it. I'm excited. The one thing I want to wrap up and say is, when we put together the first Camp Leapfrog, we really reached out to people nearby, not strictly because we were in a pandemic, but we didn't really know what we were getting into. So we wanted to talk to people who were a reasonable car drive away. So we're not going to reach out to somebody who's in Indiana, and that's a dozen hours by car. We talked to people who were nearby. We talked to people who are in our social network and said, is this something you can make? So in 10 months, to go from your buddy that lives a couple neighborhoods away to bringing in talent like Hoodfoot, like Cole Radrick, like Max the Impaler, people from the Midwest who are really traveling to be a part of this event. I think it does two things. It shows the tremendous growth of Camp Leapfrog from its beginning, its incubation, shall we say, until now. And second, it adds so many distinct variables into this event that you can't really look at this lineup and say, who's going to come out on top? Who's going to win what match? The only thing that I can guarantee you is, there are two things I can guarantee you. A, there will be, to my dismay, a great deal of crop tops. And B, you're going to enjoy it.
Who out of the names you said that maybe their first time faces at the heavyweights, who are some that maybe you know of or you've seen them work that we should put on our radar now and get excited for?
I would say all of them. I'm curious to see Big F and Vinny, if only because he's coming back from an injury, right? That's the case, that he was out for a minute. Is he 100% healed, or does he have a mentality of somebody whose body and their heart is pushing them to return a bit too early, a bit too presumptuous, and so they may not be at 100% and put themselves at risk? I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I'm excited to see all of these people. I'm hopefully looking forward to seeing the people who I dislike more than the others lose. But I think that I'm looking forward to. Yeah, I'm going to punt. I'm playing Sweden. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to play neutral. As the commissioner, I should be that way, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited. Alex, what do you have to plug?
Again, heavyweights. I'm excited to see how the new players fit into the camp fold, and just how everything turns out. I'm excited to see all of my wonderful friends again back at Camp Leapfrog. Other than that, I'd like to plug the rest of the HTW network and our series of podcasts, like the Moran and Friends podcast. A good friend of Dr. Ethan Wild.
He hasn't had me on yet, just kind of an FYI.
That is true. Well, I got to pull rank on him and demand it. We have just debuted before this show the Three Ropes podcast with Steve. Scott Fineout. Sorry, he's probably watching this.
There might be a Steve Fineout somewhere.
Yeah.
What if there was?
Johnny's last episode with Killian was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
It's hard not to already be a fan of Killian, but after listening to him, I'm more in love with the guy.
We also have the Positive Wrestling podcast hosted by Stephen Baker, formerly King Leone. What I'm enjoying about these podcasts that we're having is that they're kind of covering different geographical areas. We have the Moran and Friends podcast, where he's interviewing people that are generally in the tri-state area. You have a lot of XWA guys over in like Maryland or not Maryland, Massachusetts, Rhode Island area on the Positive Wrestling podcast, and a couple PA guys and Binghamton guys in the Three Ropes podcast. And much more interesting fellows to come there as well. And we've got a couple other podcasts coming our way.
Let's give some love real quick to the Maestro and his podcast, The Sweatshop. He does an amazing job with the music for Camp Leapfrog. And go listen to his Sweatshop podcast, where they talk all sports and professional wrestling.
Absolutely.
Remind him about how much he loves Love Shack.
Yes.
And there's also a podcast in development with you guys as well.
Yeah.
A little secret project, if you will.
Oh my! All I can say is wait till you see the logo. We're gonna give Moran and Friends a run for their money, because that's a great logo as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right. Well, that's enough for me. At Real Kilowatt on all social media. If I'm gonna plug myself,
Andy Header.
I have something to plug.
What do you got?
Legends of Hamburg Wrestling Convention.
Yes.
I'm looking very forward to. Alex will be at. There'll be a Camp Leapfrog table there.
Yeah.
We'll have a table there. Outbreak will have a show afterwards, which I'll be wrestling on. So
and you'll be at our table. So
yes.
And if you want to meet Andy Header and get a T-shirt,
I want to have new T-shirts for that.
Yeah,
It'll be green and purple. So
we will be announcing soon. I'm probably going to say right after Heavyweights, we'll announce just who will be with us at the high HTW and Camp Leapfrog tables.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Legends of Hamburg.
Yeah, it is July 24th at the Hamburg Field House in Hamburg, Pennsylvania.
Do you have a list of some of the people that will be there?
I do. Tito Santana, Tony DeGria, Johnny Rods, Steve Lombardi, Cowboy Bob Orton, Samu is going to be there, Gary Michael Capetta, Jimmy Hart, and Dangerous Danny Davis was just
really
announced.
Newly announced Dangerous Danny Davis. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's going to have a lot of people there, a lot of cool vendors.
Too Cold Scorpio, right?
Scorpio,
Sandman.
Jack, Sandman, Todd Gordon, the founder of VCW.
Yeah, the moles. I like it.
Jim Molyneux, former ECW referee, will be there.
Yeah, so it should be a fun time. There's no ticket information as of yet.
I believe you could buy
there's sales up right now.
Yeah, you could buy a package deal where you can get the con and then the show after, or just one or the other.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It looks like tickets are starting at $15. So that ain't bad to get in.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, to meet a couple.
That's reasonable. It's about $1 per person, right?
Yeah.
I believe there may also be fees associated with meet and greet photos.
Yeah.
But 15 gets you in the door.
As an entrance fee,
you
it's
look
not
at them
bad.
from a distance for your $15.
Yeah,
Indeed.
It's really something. It's really we've never really had something like this in the area. So I really hope this is something that continues to keep going and growing. And just the fact that it's in the Hamburg Fieldhouse is really exciting.
Yeah.
As a Reading born fellow myself, we've only ever had like one Comic-Con, not a Comic-Con, but a comic convention that ran out of there. I mean, it was small, but it was fun. But we don't have many nice things like that. So
yeah,
it's nice to have that around the area.
And I'm not sure when the time is. It doesn't have a starting time. I'm going to say
I believe 10 a.m.
10 a.m. to 4.
10 to 4.
10 to 4. Okay, now I see. As July 24th.
And then the show starts at 6.
Yep.
Yeah.
So come on out, hang out. We'll have a table there. You can come see all these amazing legends and come talk to us. We'll probably be doing a live recording that day.
Cool.
Recording a podcast. We'll talk about something. Maybe we'll talk about the history of the Hamburg Fieldhouse while we're in the Hamburg Fieldhouse.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There you go.
That sounds like a
come for the convention, stay for the show afterwards.
Yeah. Do you know what your spot in the show yet?
I don't know.
Oh, it's top secret.
Yeah. I'm wrestling.
He's wrestling, baby. Andy Header will be there.
I'm number one contender, so I just want to say that.
The number one contender,
I am
Andy
for
Header.
the title, yeah.
Oh, and you're the champion will be there. He was booked to be there.
Yes.
Who's the current champion? Is it Ricky Reyes? Though?
Yes.
Ricky Reyes is the champion, and he's the number one contender.
Yeah, so if that tells you anything.
Ooh. And so crazy thing is the Hamburg Fieldhouse, historic Hamburg Fieldhouse.
Mm-hmm.
You actually won your first Outbreak Championship.
How about that?
In that building.
Yeah. Can I win a second if I have that?
And you'll
match?
be the first 2-time champion.
Yeah, I'd be the first 2-time and winning at the same building. So that's something. That's awesome.
We're rooting for that. We at one time at this podcast we had the title proudly presented, but sadly Robbie Radke.
It's been gone for a while.
Robbie Radke, that bastard.
We haven't had a champion for a while.
Yeah,
really.
Brian, what do you got?
As always, projecthumanoid.com. If you want to listen to me do non-wrestling podcasts where we still talk about wrestling quite a bit.
It sneaks in.
It sneaks in everywhere. Murder My Dude, true crime, pedantic, just kind of general talking and looking into the etymology of words and things like that. You can find that all at projecthumanoid.com.
Yeah, both those links are below. Thank you guys so much for joining the Tornado Tag Podcast. We also do a few other shows you can check out below at the IWEP Network. Interviews Everyday People, Bangin' Beers Podcast, Not Cool in High School. We just ate a bunch of fast food and talked about which one's the best one. I don't care what anyone says. Burger King is better than McDonald's all day long.
McDonald's, maybe they are.
What about McDowell's?
Yeah,
McDowell's.
What about movies?
And then also Truth Behind Illusion, which will be coming up, I believe, next week, and we cover the history of Bloody Mary.
Okay, so just Bloody Mary.
Spooky. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Here's some Billy Trey. We're out of here, I think. Yep, here we go.
Wow.